Alexa, turn on studio. Good morning, everybody. Hello, welcome in. This is your live Hoopsville show. Running a little bit late if you're watching us live. Apologies for that. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. Welcome in. Hope you are enjoying your day as we get ready for the NCAA tournaments. They are coming up, and they should be a blast. We already talked about the brackets on Monday. If you missed our big shows on Sunday and Monday, you can always go back and look at the archives. Sunday show, of course, looking at who may be in the tournaments. Well, we kind of know who's in the tournaments, but punching their tickets and some of the things that may break down for that. Monday's a short show, of course, breaking down those brackets. We talked to both committee chairs. If you want to hear some answers on some of the decisions made by the committees, go check those out. Also talked to some of our experts like Ryan Scott, Scott Peterson, Pat Coleman about how those brackets broke down. Today, we're going to be talking a lot about how these tournaments may break out and some of the teams that we're going to be making maybe some waves, or at least you're going to be watching this weekend. We've got a lot of really good teams in the tournament. It's a deep field in both men's and women's basketball this year, and expecting this to be absolutely spectacular. So with that in mind, we're going with a supersized show today. We've got 7 guests on tap. Yeah, I said 7. Yeah, that is a lot, believe it or not. So what we got going is we'll have MUW, also known as Mississippi University of Women men's basketball team, Dean Burrows, will join us. Frank Marcinek from Susquehanna will join us. LaTanya Collins from St. Mary's, Maryland on the line. Diana Noles from Otterbein women's basketball will also join us. And Michael Sumi from Heidelberg will be on the line at one point. Some of these we did have to talk to yesterday. They're pre-recorded, so we'll join them. Olivia Hunt from Austin women's basketball will join us, and Steve Christensen from Aurora. That's all on tap, some of them live, some of them pre-recorded, as we mentioned. Also have my 2 cents about the women's thoughts and plans and ideas about their scheduling for the tournament. A little bit more compact than on the men's side. We talked a little bit on Monday. I've chewed on a little bit of what we've heard. We'll have some thoughts on that. Because we're running behind, because this show is a little bit behind schedule, because it's not a typical day in the McHugh household today. We had some illnesses and stuff, and I got behind schedule. So anyway, because that's in mind, we're going to skip the first ad break, and we're going to go straight to our first guest on the line today. It is an incredible opportunity for this program. You might remember this head coach, Dean Burrows, because we've talked to him on this show about this program, because this is a program that he picked up after Wesley got picked up by another school. Like, horrible timing, as it were, right? What is going on? So to join us, I'm hoping, we're pulling this live, I'm hoping Dean's aware, we're going to the Hoopsville hotline. Dean Burrows available for us, we certainly hope. Dean, good to see you, sir. How are you? Thank you. Didn't even get a chance to say hello in the ad break. What are you doing, sir?
Doing all right, Dave. Can you hear me?
Can hear you wonderfully. We are good to go. Hey, congratulations. This is huge. I know, because you and I have talked behind the scenes a lot. We've known each other for a number of years. This was a long-term goal for the program. It was going to be a challenge. You knew that. And then boom, this year, here we are. Is this how you expected it to play out? Punching your ticket to the NCAA tournament?
That's a tough question. We always, I mean, that was the goal coming down here, was to take a job that was not even in the NCAA stage of its life, and to get it to this point sooner rather than later, because the East Coast in me, the impatience in me, that's what, that's just how I'm wired. But no, it's been fun. It's been frustrating. You question yourself a lot. I think that's normal. But no, these kids have one heck of a story, and I'm glad to be a part of it with them and help them author it.
Yeah, we talked about obviously the progression and maybe some of the similarities and all that to what you dealt with at Wesley and getting everybody to buy in, change the mentality, get kind of the idea that, hey, you can be competitive. You can kind of make this happen. Is this a sign that there is that buy-in, that it's more than just your program?
I would say yes from this group this year. It's been difficult because where we're located in Mississippi, I mean, you got to go down to Jackson. That's where your Belhaven and your Millsaps were. So getting the folks in our part of the state and north part of the state to understand just how good Division III basketball is. I mean, let's be honest, most people aren't going to drive 2.5 to 3 hours to watch a Division III game more often than not. So just getting those around to understand, I lived it. I experienced it. Some of my former players who are my current assistant coaches who played for us at Wesley, they understood it as well. But just getting those people around us to understand, man, it really is a good level of basketball. But we've had more buy-in this year. We had a really connected group last year. Just some injuries down the stretch, and we were able to take it a step further this year, and something that we felt all along that we could do with this group.
Well, you punch your tickets in a tough conference only because you aren't exactly near everybody. You certainly a lot of travel involved in the SLIAC. This is a conference that has gotten a lot of attention from other members. You guys have kind of been off the radar a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the travel involved, how you guys kind of prepared for all of that, and how it eventually helped you get this bid. There's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, I mean, our guys, we returned 2 this year from last year's group. They've been accustomed to it, and it's just something we talked about. I mean, in our league, it's kind of interesting, honestly. Like when we play, it's Thursday, Saturday in our league. Lyon College, they're our travel partner, so when they play, it's Thursday, Saturday as well. But for everybody else in our league, just because they're a little closer to one another, they're usually either Tuesday, Saturday, or Wednesday, Saturday. So I've talked to some of the coaches in our league. I don't know if that's an advantage for us or not. I don't know, but the way the conference tournament set up for us, we were able to keep the same schedule in terms of traveling on a Wednesday, practicing Wednesday night, shoot around Thursday, play Saturday. So we're accustomed to it. And, I don't know. I can't answer that for other teams in the league, but when we played certain teams, we talked about bringing them down into the deep end and seeing if they can do it on a Thursday, Saturday with one day in between.
You had an interesting schedule this year. You had 2 4-game losing streaks, kind of testing you, as it were, a little bit. But you also went out there and challenged yourselves. That first 4-game losing streak and featured Howard Payne, McMurray, Millsaps, certainly programs that had either had good seasons this year or were having good seasons or are historically a good program. You played Hendrix this year. Your other losses included North Central, Texas Lutheran. Before you got into conference play, we'll talk about Greenville and all of that in a bit. But 2 4-game losing streaks, those are tough. How did you guys recover from both of them? Because both of them resulted in winning streaks, including the one you're on right now.
Yeah, when we went to Texas, we were without our conference player, who ended up being the conference player of the year. So we went down there, and Howard Payne plays very similar to Greenville. Maybe not as in depth like the Greenville is with some of the how they play, but Howard Payne, Belhaven, that was done to prepare us for the Greenville 2 games in our league. But then North Central, who arguably usually pretty darn good club year in and year out. I just wanted our guys to feel that. I thought we were ready to take that next step and challenge ourselves a little bit. And got to give credit to our baseball team. Shout out to those guys with the schedule they played last year and this year as well. Like, there's some healthy competition. They're good friends of ours. And, it's a part of the process in growing and building a program. And, we're still in that process. We're getting ready to play Emory, who obviously they're one hell of a club and we have a lot of respect for and how Coach Zimmerman does things. But we're at 2 different stages of our lives as a program. And we're in 8th year overall of existence and 3rd year as an NCAA school. So, this is just a part of the process of building.
Yeah, it's historic in a lot of ways. And you said it's about building. Quickly about that SLIAC schedule, you see a lot of different styles. it may come into play here. And then you played a lot of different styles out of conference. But man, Greenville, you play Webster on 1 week, and you're playing 74-67 in a loss. The next week you're playing Greenville on the road. It's 141-137. 2 days later, you're playing Spalding, and it's 64-62, followed by Blackburn 59-58. Those were the losses, and I only picked them out, though, because of just the wildness of the scores. You played Greenville, we should point out, earlier in the season, and it was 142-109 as a win. How do you prepare for those kinds of roller coasters in the conference in different styles?
So that Greenville Spalding, we've been doing it now for a few years. Like when we travel, you know, going to play Greenville, it is what it is. Like, you know, every teach their own. And to be honest with you, if you look at the stat sheet from that particular game, to play that style against that style, we played 6 guys basically that game. You know, that's probably not ideal, but I think fatigue set in because, again, we played 6 guys that game down the stretch, and you know, some turnovers, some missed free throws. We're pretty darn good from the line usually. But then you go from that, which is a track meet, to what we call with Spalding the rock fight, and that's legit what it is. That Greenville game takes a lot out of you. So again, we you know, we're accustomed to it, but it still takes some stuff out of you mentally and physically. But you know, the Greenville game, the Webster game, then the Greenville game, then the Spalding game, excuse me, like you said, we were playing without one starter in Jackson Reed, who's a grad transfer who was on Shriner's NCAA tournament team a few years ago. So, and then Trey Hughley, who ended up being first player of the year, excuse me, in our league, he got hurt in that Webster game pretty bad. So we lost by 7 there. And after that game, honestly, when that buzzer sounded, I felt like we had a chance as we continued on. If we got healthy, I mean, we talked about all year, we didn't want to be playing our best basketball at that point. Like, I really think last few weeks we have been. And a lot of that has to do with our senior leadership from Trent Walker and Jackson Reed.
You don't have a hugely deep team. Usually when I click on a stat sheet, I see, 12, 15 guys have played a game at some point in time. You're a little bit tighter, and that's probably a lot to do with just the youth of the program, right? Like the youngness of everything. But tell me a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we started the year, Dave, with 15 guys. And then a couple days before moving, someone decided not to. And then throughout the course of the fall, with strength coach and things like that, some guys were like, nah, this isn't for them. I mean, so, we had a decision to make, and there was a few guys at break we were talking to about potentially bringing it in, but we knew we had the talent. We know we had 6 guys that could start for us on any given night and we can ride with. I mean, but leaning into my experience when I was an assistant for Jerry at Wesley before I got the head coaching job, if you recall that 13-14 team, we were 6th in the country at some point. We only played 6 or 7 guys.
Yeah, that's true.
So for me, I kind of had that feeling and understanding, like, all right, but you got to have the right guys. So for us, Dave, like, we're going to get ready to get on the bus here soon, and we're going to go down to Emory. We haven't had a full 5-on-5 practice since Thanksgiving. Again, nothing in transition. So, like, Mondays were a certain way, Tuesdays were a certain way, Wednesday, then we get and go travel. Like, so we've stayed in our routine and for better or for worse, I'm not saying it's the right way or the wrong way, but that's just what we've grown to and how we've gone about it. And it's hard. It's tough. And I give our guys a lot of credit. And I don't think many kids today can do what these guys are doing.
No, that's probably a very good point. You're a core group of 9. That's essentially what you are. Mm-hmm. Jackson Reed, brain freeze. Certainly, and Trent Walker, certainly, as you said, you're seniors, the core guys, but they're not the ones that jump out on the stat sheet. You got 23 points, 14.7, 14.2, 13.7 from other guys. Tell me about the Shepherds, the McCains, and the rest of this crew and how they kind of play off one another while scoring a lot of points, but also finding each other.
Yeah. One of the things, whether it was at Wesley or here, we talk about, and our opponent's probably the best in the country, I think, at it, is the pass is king. We want high assists. We want that ball moving. And our guys, for the most part, have really been good about that. I think we're in the top 40 all year long in assists per game. But no, all 4 of those guys, they're JUCO guys too. Alabama, Mississippi kids. And, they each have their own story, and they're incredible stories. And I don't know if I have enough time to talk about each of them in terms of their story. But again, overcoming adversity to get to this point individually and collectively throughout the course of the year. I mean, Joe Hayes Austin, it's incredible. Like I'll sit there and scratch my head, like, what are we doing? What's he doing defensively? And then he'll get a deflection steal, go down for a dunk, get an assist. I mean, it's just incredible to sit there and watch. Trey Hughley, who played maybe 7 minutes a game last year at Shelton State, junior college, to go to be the player of the year in the league. Tyler Shepard, he's a unique individual. He's a good kid. They're all good kids, but you know, just for him the last few games he's really helped us in doing some things that I felt he could do all along. And then just recently Devin McCain coming off the bench for us just because some of these guys just were riding that wave with them. But again, like real quick back to Webster, they have 7 coaches, we have 9 guys. So it's just something we chuckled about each game we played, but it's just a part of who we are.
Well, and tell us about that win, because obviously you're going into the conference tournament knowing it's punch your ticket to get in. That's the only way this works. So tell us maybe a little bit about that run through the tournament, or at least that Webster game, and pulling off the win on the top seed.
Yeah, I mean, we knew like this isn't the old Capital Athletic Conference where we got 2 or 3 in every now and then, and 4 teams ranked in the top 20.
No, but there's nothing like the old CAC.
Yeah, no, I love it and I miss it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Right there with you, sir.
Yeah, no, those were wars. But we probably that last homestand with Westminster where we were fortunate to scrape one out, and then playing Webster at home, which again, I literally didn't have to say anything to our guys and walk through. I didn't say a word to them and walk through that day after what happened up there, getting beat by 7. Like if you're a player, coach shouldn't have to say anything to you in that situation. And then going into the tournament, we were fortunate enough to win that game and get the tiebreaker to get the 2nd seed, which with a group of 9, having those few extra days was beneficial for us. And it kept everything similar to what we've done all year as far as travel and playing Thursday. So you get that Lion game, and they're big, they're long, they're physical. And we just talked about protecting the paint. We came out of the gate shooting the heck out of the ball too. And then, we're up 20 something. And in the back of my mind, there's a 25-point shot lurking around the corner, out there for Lion. And then to get Webster on their floor, as much as we wanted that to come through Columbus in our place, because we were 9-1, we do a good job at home. There's something special about, and Chris Bunch is a great guy. Like, I mean, the utmost respect for him and his club, but there's just something about being able to do it on someone else's floor. And again, we struggled early in the year winning road games. And then as the year went on and progressed, that's just something we talked about, you have to do in order to get to this point. And here we are going to Emory tomorrow night to play them on their home floor again. So,
yeah, I think that's the thing. So now we pivot. You've got Emory. You're traveling again. We're used to travel. Little different direction. You're going to be heading east, and obviously you haven't done it just yet, but you're heading to Emory. Going to play a pretty tough team, one that's in the national rankings, certainly one that's got a lot of attention on it. Well, Coach, Jason knows his stuff. You guys are an unknown even for them. What do you see in the game? What do you expect from the game? How do you think you guys can maybe pull this one off?
Well, first of all, they're big, they're physical, they share the heck out of the basketball. They play the game the right way, in my opinion. That ball moves they're not just wasting dribbles. They're deliberate with everything that they do. They rebound the heck out of the basketball. One of my former conference coaches in our old league that we were just talking about, he shot me a text last night at dinner, and he's like, "You just got to go outscore them." And it's like, yeah, easier said than done, right? But
go ahead, just go put more baskets in.
And like I told him, I was like, that's about the last thing I want to tell our guys, because half the time it's like, trying to get them to sit down in guards already, like the NBA All-Star game half the time. But no, we got the utmost respect for them in terms of, their personnel with Ben Pierce and Knight and those guys. Like, again, we got our work cut out for us. But again, like I told our guys, as good as they are, and rightfully so, and they've earned the accolades and attention that they have, there's some things that we do really well too that they got to come out and take care of. And again, for me, it's easy for me to come out and say, because I've been in those situations, whether it was a Randolph-Macon in 2020 or, Virginia Wesleyan back in the day, or Hampton-Sydney back in the day, or CNU. So that's one thing for me to say, but I'm not those guys. I'm not the one out there playing in those situations. So just hopefully trying to get them to understand right away, what we're up against. That's fine. But we've been doing this all year as far as overcoming adversity individually and collectively. And again, this is part of the story. And if we're able to go out and do what we set out to do and whatnot, again, everybody's going to be talking about it.
And that's the point, right? To try and get everybody to talk about it. Even in a close game, this might be a win. I know you don't want to be the team that, hey, haha, at least we made it. But let's at least look forward. This is a great thing that I know you've been building towards to build this program off of. You've got 2 seniors, yes, but everybody else comes back. All of this is a learning experience moving forward, and I know that's for the off season, but that is an important piece of this overall program's puzzle.
No, and talking to my assistant coaches in the last few days, people reaching out, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm going into the portal, or, just with recruiting. And Dave, and, I'm pretty old school when it comes to this. I'm a relationship builder. Just where we're at, even at our level, it's disturbing and it's nauseating for me personally. And I'm not going to hide from that and shy from it. But, as we continue to go forward, this group, this is team 8. That's what we talk about. This is the 8th year. So whenever this ride ends for this group, and it's fragile, and you know it and I know it, that's the end of team 8. And then as we move forward to team 9, I can't sit here and say, as much as I want guys back, I don't know what's going to happen with them financially, or if someone, whatever the case may be. All I can do is go forth, put the best effort to provide the best experience that we can on and off the court, which I think we do a really good job of with our guys and for our guys. We'll worry about that when it comes, but I'm excited by that. But I'm more excited about getting the practice day with these guys and having another practice with them.
What is maybe the secret to the culture? Is it the buying in? Is it the unselfishness? Is it understanding the underdog role? Like, what's the secret to the sauce?
That's a good question. I know this is what I tell kids in recruiting. I'm not for everybody. I am who I am. I don't hide from it. I don't hide from the fact that we're going to worry about the person, the young man, first and foremost, before we worry about the player. I don't want them to ever think that I use them for the game. I'm trying to teach life through the game of basketball to help them become better husbands, better fathers, better men that the world needs. But I'm pretty adamant, and we live our culture. I have to be the example of what I want our culture to be. I can't just put it on a shirt or a wall or page. And I'll be honest with you, at Wesley in my early days, I tried to do that and thinking that's how you build culture. And God, I couldn't have been further from the truth. But no, we live it every day, and it's off the court first, then it goes on the court. And by no means are we perfect off the court. I still got to remind guys, hey, this is what time breakfast is. Like, I don't know if it's the generation today or what, with as much technology as we have and whatnot, but now it's just getting them to understand. I think that's why you saw some guys walk during the early part of this year too. Like, man, I didn't sign up for this. Everybody talks about wanting to be a Division I player, and well, we treat it like it's a Division I program within the rules. I mean, as much as best as we can. So, I mean, now it's just something we toe the line every day, and you have to, I think, if you're a coach, and we're not going to let things slide. I think as I've gotten older, I've been open to listening more, and just being more empathetic with guys and hearing them. But no, I'm going to hold them accountable and demand of them too.
That's an interesting perspective. By the way, you also have to understand you're going to be wearing the man bun. I mean, you rock it well, sir. You rock it well. I can never imagine doing it, but you have stuck to it. It is your thing. So not only do they have to take you as a personality, they got to take you as a look. I mean, that's intense.
What you see is what you get, and
exactly.
Now, this started during COVID, actually. Right after we got beat by Randolph-Macon, I'd selfishly, probably stupidly, talked my way out of the hospital to go coach in that game down at Randolph-Macon. Right,
yeah, we haven't even touched on that.
But now with me being a type 1 diabetic as of 2018 and taking insulin stuff, I found my hair just falling out in clumps little by little. And I'm like, you know what? Like, we're just going to grow it out and see. And I was never like this, as you know, just always high crop cut and, whatnot. But here we are, and it's a lot easier. I'll be honest with you. I mean, you're going to see Coach Zimmer in a suit tomorrow night. You're going to see me in the same thing I wore all year long, because, we're at 2 different stages of program building, and we're still working and building. So I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and that's just who I am. And we're going to get after it.
Yeah. I love the look. I could never pull it off. But how have you done with your health? How has life changed? Because you look tremendous.
No, I appreciate it. So we were laughing yesterday as we got on the bus. This time last year, but maybe another week from now, my wife had to call, the ambulance to come get me again and take me to the ICU in Tuscaloosa where we live. And, I was in there and white blood cell count was all over the map and infections and stuff. So again, that's all part of the circus, as we refer to our program as, and our family's, life and living. But, no, I feel good. Again, I had a different perspective back in 2020, watching the conference semifinals and championship game from the hospital bed, which was an awesome perspective. Don't get me wrong. I got to see things on the TV, the computer, live stream that I wouldn't have experienced if I was there in person. And my staff and those guys and our kids did a great job. So selfishly, Dave, I've been wanting to get back to this point so I could experience it myself and with our guys. And so last Saturday was just, it was a dream, to be honest with you. And, just thinking about, I had a moment in the locker room by myself. Our guys went into the pool and jumped in, which I'm not saying that's probably the right thing to do, but you know what? We're new to this, and that's okay. And I want them to enjoy it. But, I thought about our Wesley guys. I thought about our guys here that haven't gotten to experience this and how they built this. And our Wesley guys are still a part of it as long as I get to do it. And I'm just happy for our university. It's the first time for our university as men's basketball. So, there's a lot of good.
And maybe we'll figure out the name thing eventually.
Can't comment on that.
I know you can't, but it was worth a try. It was worth a try. Sneaking in at the end, see if I can get you as you're rolling. Hey, Dean, congratulations. Hats off to you, sir. Really impressive. Been watching quietly from a side and really enjoying it. Got a smile. I'll have to admit, had a huge smile when I saw you guys pull it off.
No, appreciate that.
As you know, we give the guests the final word. So any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Yeah. No, I just want to thank you for, all the years that you, Pat, Ryan, everybody there behind the scenes do for our level to make it the big time. I love our level. I think it's the best level of basketball still to this day. And, if you get a chance tomorrow night to the Nation, at 7:15 Eastern, I'm not making any predictions by any means. That's not who I am, but I think you'll see a special group of young men who, they're just going to keep battling no matter what the circumstance is. And, they're a fun group of kids to be around. And I think they're well worth people tuning in for.
I believe what he said is tune in and you'll see an upset. I'm pretty sure that's what I heard and what I translated. Right, sir? Is this correct? Am I on the right page?
A lot of respect for those guys. And not that I need to get them to, they got their sights set on some things, but no, I'm going to have to disagree with what I said there.
No, I know. I'm having fun with you and I appreciate it. Hey, congrats again. Enjoy it at the very least. Obviously, things are flying high for the Owls, and we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road, watching the game and all of that. And take care of yourself, please.
Thank you. You as well.
Thanks, bud. Dean Burrows joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. A little cold action right there, just going right into the interview. Dean was ready to go. I wasn't, but Dean was. When we come back, we'll keep talking men's basketball. We'll go from one program that just punched their ticket for the first time to another who unexpectedly punched a ticket again. It's the Susquehanna Riverhawks. Frank Marcinek joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline when we come back. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3 Hoops from the WBCA studios.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's nabc.com or NABC1927 on social media.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
If I lose, I'll respond with respect.
If I win, I'll back it up with humility.
If I fail, I'll rise up with honor. It's tough for us to put it all on the line.
Don't undo my hard work with poor sportsmanship.
Respect. It's the name of the game.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we continue to roll along this Thursday tournament preview version of the show. It's a supersized show. Supposed to have 8 guests. We're actually down to about 7, so we'll have a little bit of time at the end of the show to chat, but we got some great guests still ahead. Dean Burrows was just on. He was a great conversation. Still ahead, we'll hear from Frank Marcinek from Susquehanna momentarily, LaTanya Collins from St. Mary's Seahawks women's basketball, Diana Noles from Otterbein, Michael Sumi from Heidelberg, Olivia Hunt from Austin, and Steve Christensen from Aurora. All great conversations still to come here on Hoopsville. If you got questions for us, you can email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. You can tweet at us at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. You can join us on the live chat in the show on YouTube. You can chat there as well, and lots of other ways you can interact with us that we'll do our best to respond to. Susquehanna men's basketball needed a tie break to get into the tournament in the first place. Yeah, you heard that right. They didn't even get into their own conference tournament without a tiebreaker. That's how crazy things were for Susquehanna. But they took full advantage of that opportunity, punching their ticket not only eventually into the Landmark Conference tournament, but using it to leapfrog into the NCAA tournament. We chatted with Frank Marcinek about it. Now joining us on the Hoopsville hotline, it's the dean of the Landmark Conference. It's the man, the myth, and the legend from Susquehanna. It's Frank Marcinek, head coach of the men's program there for the Riverhawks. Coach, good to see you. How are you?
I am great, Dave. Good to be seen. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on the show, as always. A wry smile was on my face when I saw what you guys pulled off in the Landmark Conference. Maybe we should have seen it coming. Maybe we just were blind. Who knows? But a win in the conference title game punches the ticket. Big deal, obviously, for a lot of reasons, right? But for you all, from your perspective, what's it mean to win another conference championship and get into the NCAA tournament?
Well, for me, it's a lot about our seniors who have been a great class. We have 6 seniors, and I've said this previously, I'm a process-oriented guy, and this group of seniors has taken care of the process as well as any group I've ever had. They are totally bought in, and I was kind of feeling bad because everybody that's been in our program over the last, I'm going to say 10, 12 years has been in the NCAA tournament except this group, and this group has just done it the right way throughout. But we had some bumps in the road throughout the season, and things weren't always going the way we wanted. But they kept the faith, they kept the trust, and they believed in one another, and carried us across the finish line last week.
Yeah, you go back to the beginning of the year, you actually had a pretty decent start, granted 3-2, but you won a few more. And by the point you got done with January, you guys had, I think it was 7 wins and 3 losses. A good game against York didn't go your way. Elizabethtown game, I'm sure you'd love to forget. Had a good battle against Chicago. Got a win over Johns Hopkins. You had to be feeling pretty good at the turn of the new year, and then things seemed to come unglued a little bit. Lost 7 of your next 9. What was the yin and the yang between just those 2 portions of the season?
We have a player whose name is Mario Castro Sanchez, who is a junior for us. And Mario kind of came out of nowhere this season. We weren't sure what our backcourt makeup was going to be. And Mario had been in the program for 2 years and really had not contributed. And all of a sudden, day after day after day in practice, he's shown up as the guy that's on the winning team for everything that we do. And eventually got into the lineup. And once he got into the lineup, we saw what he could really do. And probably came into his own when we played Chicago and Hopkins down in Puerto Rico. 2 very quality opponents. And he was up to the task. Unfortunately, he tore his meniscus down there and actually played, I think, against Hopkins with a torn meniscus. We don't know that for sure, but his knee was bothering him. So he was really an important piece for us. And when he went down, had surgery, I want to say January 3rd, we were searching for an answer. And our answers were some other freshmen. And it was maybe more than they were ready to handle at the time. But we didn't have a lot of choice. We played guys, KJ Carson, played Mikey Cumbo, and they just weren't ready yet. But they got baptized by fire. And we kept saying, let's keep the wheels on the bus. When we get fully healthy, we could be somebody to deal with. We just got to find a way to get into the tournament. And we got into the tournament through the back door. We needed Juniata to beat Moravian at Juniata, which they did. And now we're the 6th seed. And, we went into the DIII game, which was our last regular season game, basically saying we needed to win to advance. We didn't really care to get in through the back door, but that's how we got in. And, our first order of business is to go to Scranton, who had beat us twice. Went up there and played quite well. Then had to go to DIII, who had beat us twice, went there and took care of business there. And then, had a chance to go to Wilkes. So we were on the road for the 3rd time in 5 days and played a Wilkes team that I have all the respect in the world for their program and their coach, Izzy Metz. And we're able to grind it out and found a way. I think we were down 11 with 5 minutes and some odd seconds, and went on a run. I don't recall what it was, but it might have been like a 24-3 run or something ridiculous, and ended up coming away Landmark Conference champ. So it was a week to remember.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you lost both times to Scranton and both times to DIII, but you beat them both in the conference tournament. And then you face Wilkes, who you had beaten twice during the regular season, and you're able to come from behind to win that one. So it was kind of a bit of a role reversal, but you guys are hot. We talked about that stretch of losing 7 of 9. Well, now you've won 7 of 9. Your losses to Scranton and DIII in the middle of that, and those were tight. Those were 7 and 8-point losses. So now your team seems to be rolling a little bit, has some momentum heading into the NCAA tournament. Got to be feeling good, and you got big old Redlands ahead of you. What are your thoughts?
Ooh.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, wow. I don't know if they've arrived in D.C. yet, but I hope their plane is delayed and they can't get here because, man, are they good. I certainly was aware of their run last year, but I don't recall having watched them play. And we've played over the years some really up-tempo pressing type teams. But I don't know that we've ever played anybody quite like them. And I guess the good news is we got a couple days to prepare for them. But I don't think you can simulate the way they play in practice. I just don't think we have the athletes, the size, the number of bodies to prepare for them. So it's a tall task, but one we're looking forward to. A week ago, a week and a half ago, we didn't have much of a chance in the Landmark tournament, and I don't feel like people would give us much of a chance in Friday's test. But that's why you play the game, as they say. We shall see.
You may not have faced anybody like Redlands this season, or there isn't anybody like Redlands necessarily kind of in your normal scheduling, but you have played good teams. York, Harrisburg's in the tournament, Chicago, Hopkins. Scranton was obviously a decent team this year. We've seen good things from Drew. You've seen some good challenges, but even on a conference, you played some beasts. Can that prepare you, even if it's not the exact same style as Redlands?
Yeah, I think so. I think that, if you look at this group of seniors that we have, going back to their freshman year, we've played as many good teams as we can. We've played the Christopher Newports, we've played the John Carrolls, we've played Denison, we've played Roanoke, we've played, Catholic in our league is, as good as anybody that we have. So we've. And I said this when we came back from Puerto Rico. I said, guys, the good news is we are battle tested. And, just as I mentioned there, the people we have played over the last 4 years, not just this year, but 4 years, that whole body of work has prepared us for moments like this. But again, having said that, Redlands is still a different animal. They kind of remind me in some ways. We played Rowan in the tournament in 2022 at Christopher Newport, and Rowan was really explosive. Pressing up tempo, scoring 100-some points a game. And we went down and played them very well, actually won the game. So I'm hoping we can use the template we used against them a little bit against Redlands. But as I said, I don't know that we can simulate Redlands' pressure.
Is this one of those things where you go in and try and play to what that team does, or do you try and become the bully, as it were, and dictate the tempo and or the style?
Well, we can play fast, but we can't play fast as well as they play fast. And, the secret to our success of late has been our inside game. We have 4 big seniors to play in the post. Brandon Lavitt, Roderick Washington, Billy Anderson, and Emisi Aguanu, who are all 6'5" or bigger, with 3 of those guys being 6'7" and 6'8". So, we've been able to play, as one of my friends, one of our parents likes to say, bully ball or Billy ball, after Billy Anderson, one of our post players. So, we'll try to do that. But as I've watched Redlands in preparation, they just swarm you. They swarm you in the post. They swarm you on the perimeter. They swarm you on a rebound. And it's just, it's going to be a game that will really stress our discipline and fundamentals. And, as we practiced yesterday, it's all about trying to be better fundamentally against these guys, because we just have to take care of what we can, and that's ourselves.
I'm curious, what's more important? You obviously can look at a lot of games potentially that Redlands has played now that we all have so many of these synergy and or Hudl game film sharing systems. Are you focused on games where Redlands lost to see what teams do against them? Or are you looking at the whole picture to better understand them as in general?
Combination of both, Dave. I want to see what has been successful against them, try to blend that with, our philosophy and what we do. So if you look at their last couple of games, these are people that know them really well, Chapman and Occidental and people like that they've played multiple times. and they really struggled against our pressure. So it's one of those things you'll study them, but I think it's really important that we kind of hang in the first 10 minutes of the game, because as the game goes on, I believe we will adapt a little bit to how they play. But it's withstanding, probably those first 2 media timeouts and not getting shellacked at that time.
Tell me more about these guys. You've mentioned them a few times. Mario Castro-Sanchez, who you mentioned, missed some games but still leads the team at 13.6 points per game. Brandon Lavitt is second at 12, 9 points a game for Jackson Van Wagener. It's a rather balanced offense, because almost 9 points for Billy Anderson, 8.5 points for KJ Carson, 8 points for Audric Washington, as you're mentioning. And most of them get rebounds as well. Your leading rebounder is Lavitt at 6'3", but there's guys with 4 or 5 rebounds as well. They all dish the ball. They all get steals. They all shoot pretty well. Lavitt's 53%, Anderson's 59%, Washington's 52%, and they can shoot from deep. That's the general scope of it. But tell me a little bit more about this kind of core group.
Yeah, so the core group is our seniors, guys you mentioned. Jackson Van Wagener is our point guard in his 4th year, and that's really reassuring come postseason time. He was so big for us last week in all 3 games, and didn't put up spectacular numbers, but really guided the ship. Brandon Lavitt is a 1,000-point scorer and can do whatever we need. 3 of our last 5 regular season games, Brandon had 30 plus. One of the games I think might have been at Goucher, he had 2. The game at Scranton, he didn't score a whole lot. But he can do whatever is necessary for the team to win. Billy Anderson was a second-team all-conference player as a junior, has battled some lower leg injuries this year and has not quite been himself, but at Scranton had 27. Audric Washington is the most complete post player we have, but probably relies more on his overall IQ, his rebounding, his shot blocking, than his scoring. But at Wilkes, I think he either got 19 or 21 for us. So it's just a group that does whatever is needed. And, interestingly enough, so a week ago, we go to Scranton. Billy Anderson comes off the bench and gets 27. We go to Drew on Thursday. Mikey Cumbo, who's a first-year player for us, gets 24 off the bench. And then in Saturday's final, Audric Washington gets, I think, 19, maybe 21 against Wilkes. So 3 guys, that led us in scoring, 3 different guys in 3 different games. And one of my assistants pointed out to me that I think we've had 9 different players lead us in scoring in a game this year, which is fairly unique to have that many players have that potential. And it was, for me, it was about finding the right pieces, and that took us a little while.
It's certainly an impressive way of doing it. Maybe not the way everyone would have liked, because it maybe provides some stress, but at the same time, it provides you some depth. Now, it is a senior-laden group, so that while it brings some experience, it also brings that idea that one game and this is done. Does that add good pressure, or does that bring the bad pressure on?
Well, we've been in the playoffs, in my mind, probably for about 4 weeks. We were approaching, starting about 4 weeks ago. It's like, we got to win, guys. Like, it's, we can't kick this can down the road, and felt like we were in playoff type games. And it, kind of interesting, at the end of every practice when we huddle up, before our game versus Drew, which was senior day, the senior said, we'll be back here Monday practicing, because we needed to win to move on. Well, we didn't win, but we moved on. We were back Monday practicing. Finished Monday's practice. They're like, we'll be back Wednesday to practice. We'll be back Thursday to practice, or we'll be back Friday to practice. And we've just kind of taken it one at a time, looking forward to our next practice opportunity. And we got together yesterday, and I said, we'll be back together next Monday to practice. It's wishful thinking, but that's kind of the mentality that we've taken. Let's just extend it as long as we can.
Frank, not to date you, but you're in your 37th season as head coach, 42nd with the program in some capacity. This is your 3rd landmark title, 4th conference title overall, 7th NCAA tournament appearance. Every time I talk to you or see you, I see the energy. You don't seem to lack enthusiasm for this, and maybe anytime soon.
It's what gets me out of bed every morning, Dave. Like, it's just what gets me going. My adrenaline gets going. To say that I don't get run down toward the end of the season, that would be inaccurate. But I figured it out. How to maintain my energy, how to stay fresh. My staff is incredible. I need to mention my staff. Chad Bailey's been with me probably 25 years. Mark Prush, probably 16 years. Eldon Hoy is in his 11th year, and Joe Burrows in his third year. So I have a veteran staff that I can count on as well. So it's not like I'm doing all the heavy lifting by myself, but I do feel like I have good energy. I get excited every day about going to practice. And after 37 years, I'm thankful that I can still do it. And, it's what keeps me young.
I always thought Chad was just one of your other sons.
Yeah, he's been with me for a long time. And it's funny. He was coaching at Lycoming, and I'd see him out and about, and he'd always say, "Do you have an opening on your staff?" Nah, when you have an opening on your staff, I want to come on board. And finally, one day I saw him. I said, "Chad, today could be the day." So why is that? I said, "I have an opening on my staff." And he joined me. I said, it had to be, I think it was 25 years ago. So talk about a loyal assistant, and talk about being on the same page with someone. That is so helpful.
You probably make sure now there is no opening on your staff. He doesn't want to find out he is the opening.
I will not. That will not happen.
Hey, obviously Gabby had a great season on the women's side. You guys, basketball with Susquehanna has been certainly kind of part and parcel. Now other athletic programs are coming along as well. What's it like on the campus in general?
We have a great athletic culture. You mentioned our other programs, and Gabby joined us right at COVID and has done a wonderful job. We just won 21 games with our women's program, most wins in 30 years. And she has a great culture, has great leaders, also a great staff. And you will hear from them again, guaranteed. This year we came up a little bit shy of making the NCAA tournament, but our women's program is here to stay, and our other programs, obviously our football team has had a terrific run. We were in the Final Four 2 years ago, Elite Eight this year. We've lost our coach Tom Perkovich, but again, I think the program is on really solid grounds, and we've had a lot of success in other sports as well. Our baseball program has been pretty good. Our field hockey program has been pretty good. So we're very strong throughout. We want to win conference championships. On Saturday, for instance, this happened to us once before. Our men's indoor track and field team won a championship in the afternoon. We won a championship that night. And it's that type of culture that I think drives us all. And, winning breeds winning, success breeds success. And it's really great to be around other successful coaches and successful student athletes.
Big Ten's not calling, right? They don't want to add to Pennsylvania at all?
Funny story. Back when Penn State joined the Big Ten, there was a comment made in the national media about Susquehanna. That Penn State's football was notorious for playing a weak schedule, and somebody in the national media said, "Yeah, Penn State's done playing the Susquehannas. Now they got to play the Michigans and and the rest of the Big Ten." So we were mentioned as a opponent of Penn State's, but not as a potential Big Ten.
Well, we'll keep the rumors alive just in case. It's fun.
Absolutely. We're only an hour and 15 minutes from State College.
Exactly.
Easier to get to Susquehanna, to Selinsgrove, than it is to get to State College from Harrisburg.
It's true. Now, if they could just finish the roundabout way of getting around Selinsgrove, we could save some time a little bit too.
Well, to tell you about that, Dave, back when I was hired, I almost bought a house here in Selinsgrove. I live in Shamokin right now, but I almost bought a house in Selinsgrove, and the guy that was selling it said, "I need to warn you, I think the bypass is going to come through here." So that was 37 years ago. So
they're still working on it.
Probably should have bought the house.
Yeah, you would have gotten a good piece of cash for it probably by this point.
Yeah.
Hey, Frank, appreciate the time. Thanks for the insight. It is always good to see you. Always great to chat with you. I am so glad we have an excuse to do it here heading into the NCAA tournament. Good luck against Redlands down at Hood. And as you know, we always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Yeah, D3 is the way to go. with the state of Division I athletics and, the roster changes. I was watching a Bucknell game last night, and I used to know Bucknell's players like my own. And I don't know it's just this is when you talk about college athletics, student athletes doing it for the right reasons. You're tuned into the right network. D3 hoops, D3 football, D3 baseball, D3 everything is the way to go. So if you're a fan of sports, there's no pure format. So glad to be part of it. Glad to have you along as one of our leaders, and it's just it's as pure as it's going to be.
I agree with you, Frank. Thank you so much for your time. Good luck the rest of the way. I'll look forward to catching up with you in the near future.
Sounds good, Dave. Have a good one. Thank you again.
You too. He's Frank Marcinek joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Got to turn on the microphone, Dave. There's Frank Marcinek from Susquehanna. Great conversation with him. He's one of my favorite coaches. Obviously known him very well from the Landmark Conference. Seen him over the years. Remember, folks, he battled and beat cancer not so long ago, and he's looking great. That's 2 coaches in a row that have looked awesome after their health challenges. Hats off to the Riverhawks punching their tickets in a weird conference. The Landmark was, listen, we all thought highly of Catholic. Then we thought highly of Scranton for a bit there. We thought Scranton was back in the mix. Drew was lurking, one of the other Van Zelst twin coach there. And it turns out it's Frank Marcinek and Susquehanna into the tournament. We'll see how they do, but hey, hats off on that program. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hit the road, literally. Talk to St. Mary's Seahawks women's basketball. First time they're in the tournament since 1999. You heard that right. Can't wait to talk to their head coach coming up.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important. But as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's NABC.com or NABC1927 on social media. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. How are you? Sorry, our next guest cracking me up. It's absolutely awesome. If you got questions for us, email us hoopsville at d3sports.com or tweet at us at d3hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. We are on Hoopsville. It is a Tourney Preview. It's our supersized show today. A mix of pre-recorded shows because a lot of our guests who we want to talk to are hitting the road because teams that we haven't talked to or are surprises in the tournament are usually teams on the road. So we're either catching them on pre-recorded interviews or catching them already on site, like Dean Burrows was already at his hotel, or even catching them on the road as we will our next guest. So great conversations. If you want to chat with us, we're also available on our YouTube page where we're live streaming the show. You can chat there as well. Interact with us. we'll try and answer some of your questions about the tournament coming up as well. By the way, men's and women's tournament previews are already showing up on D3Hoops.com. Gordon Mann wrote a terrific one on the women's preview that I'm about halfway through and already enthralled in. And I know Ryan Scott's got a good one coming out on the men's side. Also, great stories about Gettysburg men's basketball, about Yeshiva men's basketball, and we got a bunch more still to come. So definitely log on to D3Hoops.com for your tournament preview. All right, let's talk about the Seahawks. Have not been in the tournament since 1999. I cannot believe this. St. Mary's women's basketball, when I entered Division III, was a powerhouse with Salisbury and Goucher and Mary Washington. That Marymount even. The CAC was a dogfight in men's and women's basketball. So it's stunning to me that the Seahawks haven't been there since 1999. But LaTanya Collins' squad is back, but they've got a test ahead of them. And literally, we are heading to the road to talk about this team. LaTanya Collins joining us from the Interstate. It's not previously recorded. I'll take that off the screen. But Coach, welcome to the show. Good to see you. Thank you for finding some time, even if it is on the Interstate.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. And I said this off air, but I'll say it on air. Thank you so much for what you do for Division III basketball. I think what you do is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of folks that get into media and get into broadcasting, and they all race to Division I basketball. And Division III basketball has some of the greatest coaches, some of the greatest players, and it's some great basketball here, and it deserves to be shared with the world. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, that's so nice of you to say. Thank you very much. I agree with you. Having worked in media quite a bit in my life and worked with D1, they do. D1's the spotlight, right? We want a bigger spotlight right here. This is the better brand of basketball, in my opinion, or brand of all sports, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Hey, LaTanya, again, first championship since 1999. When you took this program over, you knew the history. Like, there's no surprise for you, right? You understand what's ahead of you. This is your first season. This seems to be a theme. We've got a lot of first season head coaches who figured it out.
Oh, this is 2 for me.
Oh, that's right, 2. Apologies.
You're 2 for me. Yeah.
I'm misreading my note right here in front of me. You would think I could read. I told you my email. I went to Goucher. I didn't really learn all the qualities, apparently. But still, taking over a program, getting them to change their the mentality. Yes. You had a program that was doing well but couldn't break through. You did have 20 wins last season. You got 20 wins this season, finally breaking through. What did it take to kind of get through that wall?
You hit on a big thing. It's the mentality, it's the mindset, and it's the belief that you can do it. You know, sometimes it's really tough. Nobody comes to college and starts the year thinking, oh, we want to finish 500. Or nobody gets in the huddle and says,
why not, Coach?
500 on 3. Nobody says that they want to win 7 games, 8 games, however many. Everybody says they want to win a championship. And so for me, the biggest thing was taking those young ladies that have been here 1-2 years before me who said, yeah, we're going to win a championship, and not done that. And breathing that life and faith in them and says, hey, guess what? Not only are we going to say we're going to win a championship, we're going to evaluate the things we were doing and figure out what's making us fall short. And we're going to add those to the top of our priority board to work on. One of those things is defending the basketball. And so we added that to the top of our priority board, and that helped get us to where we are now. And that first year, well, I would have been on here with you last year. We didn't lose at the buzzer in the championship game. However, in that first year, we saw immediate success. So now that breathes life and makes them say, hey, we can do it. You know, we're further than we ever were. Let's give it one more push. Let's push a little harder in these priority areas again. And then that's got to turn the corner for us. So it's a combination of evaluation of where we were falling short, and then making those priorities to really work on, and then hanging in there with our belief, not abandoning ship yet.
Yet. Key word.
Yeah, don't abandon ship yet. Hang in there with.
And you dominated in the conference title game. Let's start there. We'll go, and then we'll back into the rest of the season. You dominated 73-47 in that Penn State-Abington game to punch your ticket. You didn't leave it to the buzzer for what Gallaudet did you all last season and ended your title dreams. You also dominated in the second half. It was 20. The first half was nip and tuck. Okay, so 14-11 first quarter to Abington, 16-14 to you guys second quarter. Third quarter, 22-5 Seahawks.
Yeah.
Fourth quarter, 24-5, 22-14 in the fourth quarter. What happened at halftime?
What happened is 2024-2025 season happened. And so remember, we were on our home court. And so we've experienced losing there before, having somebody else cut our nets down in our gym. I don't wish that on anybody. That was an emotional roller coaster for us. What also happened is in our very first game of the tournament, Olivia List had been leading us all year. She goes down 2 minutes into the game with an ACL tear. And so you talk about losing your leading scorer and then having to still deal with the nightmares in that gym of losing before. There wasn't a lot I had to say. We were prepared. We had played them earlier in the year, and we were super successful against them. Liv had 30 points in that game, but we won by 50. And so just reiterating that there's enough in this room to still be able to win that basketball game. And so I think that, that thought process, that belief, I hadn't lied to them yet. And when they did the math, yeah, it's enough points right here in this room. They were able to come out with a fire and really be able to finish it off.
And you used your bench, which I find interesting. Like Marley Saunders played 8 minutes.
Yeah.
She started for you, but you go down to Sam Blaylock, who wasn't one of the first subs you had, but Sam Blaylock played 24. Kiera Mason played 31 off the bench. Like you went to that bench and said, let's go.
Yeah, no, we were ranked top 5 in the nation in bench points. And I tell these young ladies all the time, we have starters on our bench. One of the things we wanted to do or change from last year was growing our depth. And we play 11 players, where Abington had a smaller roster. And so fatigue was also, I would have to think, took a toll on them. We keep coming and we keep coming and we keep coming. And so we have young ladies on our bench, and those young ladies on our bench don't sit around and think about they didn't start. They sit around and think, when it's my turn, I'm going to get in here and do what I'm supposed to do. And so if you can stay steady with us, with our starters, we got another hit coming. And then we have another hit coming. And that's been the story of our season, especially in conference play. And that's been our thing. When you talk about Sam Blaylock, not only did she get 32 points off the bench, she was, I don't know, she was 6 of 6 from the 3-point line for a long time. I think she finished 6 of 9. Kiera Mason, 20 points, 12 rebounds, and 7 assists. That's a lot for a person coming off the bench, as you stated before. And so, I have to believe that it was the combination of the emotional push from our experiences and the 1-2 punch that we had come off.
No, it makes total sense. Let me put a button on some of the other things you mentioned. They're top 5 in bench points. It's actually number 2 in the nation at 37 points per game. Yeah. You're number 6 in total points. You're top 40 in offensive rebounds. You're top 40 in scoring defense at 52.9. You're top 10 in scoring margin at plus nearly 22 points. Top 20 in scoring offense at 74.8. You're number 6 in steals per game at 16 a game. I'm gonna have to talk to Nyram. I think she's floating a few on there on you. Turnover margin is top 3. You're nearly at a plus 12 there. Turnovers forced per game. 28.7 is top 5.
Yeah.
A lot of that you can say, okay, yeah, look at their conference, look at who they played, but you only played 13 games in conference. You also played some other really good teams this season. So these stats are pretty indicative of the entire year. You go out there and you get after it. And as you say, you're willing to go into the bench to get after it too.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the things for us, again, where I said that defense had been a key thing for us. We changed some things defensively from last year to this year. And it took total buy-in and everybody bought into it. We just started pressing full court. Last year we pressed, but we did a 1-2-2 and a 2-2-1, and we had some success with those things. And during the early practices, I put in a man full court press. And I will never forget, we got to our first tournament of the year, and the girls said, I didn't think we were ready to do it. And the girls said to me in the huddle, they said, Coach, we want to play the man full court. And I said, you want to do what? They said, man full court. We want to pick up full court. And that was the buy-in that I was looking for.
That's
and
amazing.
Said, we think we do it. And so that came from our players. That suggestion was, we have totally embraced that. And we've just been getting after it on defense.
And listen, you've had some low-scoring affairs. You held Gallaudet to 40 points in back-to-back games. Listen, low-scoring game against Swarthmore. You had a low-scoring games all across your Piedmont, 59-51. Yeah, you've had some high-scoring games too, which shows you can go up tempo if you need to. But yeah, and as they say, Coach, you know this well, defense travels, right?
Yes.
So this is something you can hang the hat on as you get ready for WNL. Pivoting towards that, WNL's got one of the best rebounding players in the country in Mary Slicener. And this is not a direct comparison, but I do notice on your schedule, you played McDaniel back in mid-November. They're a very good rebounding team. Beckett alone is a beast, but they've got 2 or 3 other players. You lost the game 80-60, but is that one of those things where you can go to that game and go, hey, remember this team? Remember how they did this really well? We're about to face that here?
Yes, it is. And our non-conference schedule is very strategic this year because we did see ourselves making it to the NCAA tournament. So we had Widener, we had McDaniel, who both had very dominant bigs. And so it gave us some experience in that avenue. So that is something that we can go back to, because hindsight, which is never helpful, for the previous game, hindsight, we all got, when we sit in and we're evaluating how we performed, we all sat around and said, hey, we could have done these things better. And so this gives us an opportunity to, again, be able to do some things better in that avenue. Of guarding a player, a high-level big, such as Mary.
Yeah, Mary's a whole nother beast. What are you expecting from this game? Obviously, there's the Slicener equation.
No.
But Gallaudet last year got NYU. You guys are getting WNL. It kind of states to where the conference kind of sits. How do you go out there and kind of maybe change that conversation?
Yeah, that's a tough one because we thought we had done enough to get a 15 seed, especially with our performance in certain statistical categories nationally, and some of the other non-conference wins we got. But again, we end up with a 16 seed, and we're okay with that. I think at the end of the day, you go out and you play. Ball is ball. We battle, we square up, and we see what happens. It's our first experience, and we'll chuck it up to them saying, hey, it's their first experience. We don't know if they're going to pee the bed or not. And so with that being said, we'll take that. We'll show up. We know that we have to earn our right in this space. And this is our first time in this space since 1999. So we're going to show up, we're going to play, and then we'll see what happens.
Quickly, regarding the schedule, you talked about purposely, there's only one repeat team on the entire schedule because the UEC went to playing everybody just once. Yes. Except that you picked up the second game with Gallaudet in a home-and-home series at the beginning of the year. So what's really interesting, you and I talked about this off air, is you've been preparing for a different team every single solitary game, both you as a staff and as a team. Does that kind of get you into the routine as a team to always be ready for that next opponent? Because you haven't gotten out of practice, right? Like you didn't spend the second half of the season or the last third of the season just repeating what you had already done.
No, we didn't. And that's I guess it's a blessing and it's tough. You know, what's a blessing is that we've guarded multiple things, multiple actions. So we have a lot of references to refer back to. Oh, just like such and such runs. Oh, this is the same back screen. Oh, this is the same curl screen. We have a lot of references. But from a coaching standpoint, woo day, we're tired. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to prepare for that many people, to watch that much film. It's a lot of preparation goes into being able to get to where we're getting to. And that's one of the things for us that was on our priority list, is to prepare at a high level. And so with that, I have a coaching staff that's, I'm sure, looking at me, I'm going to get them some nice gifts at the end of the season because they've spent a lot of time. They have families, they have people that they're responsible for. Some of them are younger, and they would like to, I'm sure, do other things. But I'm texting in our group chat, hey, did you see that blob? Hey, did you check out that one action? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so with that being said, it's been a lot. I hope that we go back to playing some folks 2 times. From a standpoint, I think the playing people 2 times is helpful with establishing who really is, like, where people fear as far as team competition. It's really tough in close games to judge with 1 play. You know, when you have close games, it's easier with 2 games than it is with 1. We didn't have a lot of close games in conference.
You're not going to be able to go to a full double round robin, though. You're going to have to offset it.
No, we won't be able to do that. But I like some sort of, experimentation with playing some folks 2 times, playing others 1 time. I do think we should play everyone, and I'm okay with that. But playing some folks 2 times and then others. But again, from a preparation standpoint, we've done this. And of the 25 teams we played, there are quite a few of them that play very similar. That, plus or minus Mary is still the same action.
And quickly about your team. This is interesting because you've got a few seniors on it, but you're led by underclassmen and junior and Olivia Litz, who's leading the team at 14.5 points a game, nearly 5 rebounds per contest, shoots 48%. Kiera Mason's a sophomore, 13 points a game, nearly 8 rebounds per contest, shoots 47%. Then you get to a senior, I hope I say her name right, Tremary Mowbray. Let's see, where did I lose it?
Yeah.
10 points a game. There it is. 10 points a game, shoots 48%. Another senior in Sam Blaylock. I just want to say Blaylock's name because I know how to say Imesville. That's where she's from. At 9 points a game. Tell me a little bit about these.
Jamesville.
Yeah, Jamesville. I can't wait till you hear introductions coming up here. How do you describe this team? How they play? Because Mason and Blaylock have only started 4 games this season.
Yeah. I think we are the best sum of a whole. Like, we are legit a team basketball. We have a team approach towards defense, a team approach towards offense. We have a lot of kids that can score the basketball. Our scoring has been spread out all year. Again, I stated, Olivia List has led us. She was player of the year for the conference this year. She's led us in scoring. And not only did she lead us in scoring, but she's contributed in so many other ways. She went down, and so we will not have her in the tournament. But we didn't miss a beat without her, because we have so many young ladies that can score the basketball, so many young ladies playing in double-digit minutes, so many young ladies contributing. And so this is just a really good group. We had a large group of young ladies that have been together at least for 2 years. These freshmen that we play now play last year, and they contributed at a high level. So we just continue to grow. I'm looking forward to them getting even better. It's like, we cracked 1 level and now we're at the next level. I don't know, like those Pac-Man games or Super Mario or something. And so every time we get there, we get, we unleash a new villain that pops out at us, and we got to shoot him down. It was Raj and whomever I got you that last year. This year is Mary. Next year will be somebody else. And so I love to see the growth, though. We've grown so much as a team, and so I'm thankful for that.
Oh, sorry, a moment there with the chair has decided to break on me, but we'll fix it a little bit. Hey, Coach, tell me a little bit about your background. You were talking about, obviously the D1 a little bit. You come from a D1 background of graduating from Virginia State. You coach, people may forget this, you coached at Southern Vermont for a couple of seasons before that all kind of came unglued. You went to St. Augustine from there, then Detroit Mercy, now St. Mary's. Give me a little bit about the background and why St. Mary's and why you're back in D3, and I mean that genuinely.
Yeah. I've been at all levels. I've been a head coach at all levels, D1, D2, D3, JUCO. And so this job came open at a really good time for me in my life. I was at Iona. And I had just traveled over there from FDU. We had just won a regular season championship there and gotten the job at Iona. And I had settled in as an assistant. And I'm a mom. My son played football. He played at the University of North Carolina. He played at Minnesota. And then he went on to play for the Chargers. And so for me, I wanted to go back to being a head coach. So I could be able to support him wholeheartedly and fully, because in that professional realm, it's also, people need their moms there too. So, so from that standpoint, but not only him needing us or needing me, I needed him. I wanted to also be able to experience that. I wanted to be able to go to games. I wanted to be able to go to practices. And so I knew I needed to become a head coach again. You get head coaches, and Angel was wonderful in allowing me to be able to be there for my family. But you don't want to have to keep asking over and over again. And so I had made up my mind I was going to become a head coach again, and whoever would take me. I'd had some success as a head coach, and I felt like whoever would take me, I would go in wholeheartedly. And I was hoping it would be St. Mary's, because I when I looked at it and when I applied, I saw the body of work that they had done, and I didn't think it would take much to fix this. And it didn't take a whole. Well, it did take much, but it didn't take much. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it took some sweat equity, but it didn't take some time equity.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm a worker. I'm willing to do that. And so, I got straight to the grind, and we were 10 toes down here, and we really grinded it out. Me, my staff, I added a couple people this year. We really pushed, we really worked, and it's paid off. And kudos to the team. Like I said, I had a large amount of young ladies who were spillovers, and they could have easily rejected everything that I said, like, oh, we didn't do it that way, we don't want to do it. But they welcomed me, and they did what was asked of them. And they didn't know me. I've earned their trust over the course of time, but they didn't know me initially. And so, coming to these type of situations, you have to make sure that you're willing to stand behind whatever you say. And what we said, we stood behind.
Well, Coach, impressive job. Really, really impressive job. Congratulations to you. Good luck. Obviously, this weekend we'll be watching with interest. But I also can't wait to see what this program now turns into moving forward. By the way, make sure you give Chris Harney a hard time for me.
Absolutely.
Keep him on his toes for me. And he's a rascal. You don't want him to get
anything
going.
I can do to give Chris Harney a hard time, I sign up for.
Awesome.
So,
you and I are on the same
with that
team.
Being said, yes, I will do that. You can count on me.
Coach, we have a tradition on this show. We always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Yes, I want to say thank you to everybody that has supported us over the course of this season. When I say that, Seahawkville, and I have coined it as Seahawkville, has been quite a place to play. The tournament, the stands were packed with students, with parents, with local people from the community who just said, Coach, I've been coming year after year, and I never thought I'd see this day. Well, they got to see that day. And I want to say thank you to everybody for believing in us, for supporting us. We hear them. I mean, sometimes those people get a little hectic. You put your ball handlers in, Coach. I mean, but I love their spunk. I love it. And they're a part of this. So I just want to say thank you to anybody, everybody, the people on campus, everybody. Thank you so much.
Well said. O'Brien ARC, the Ed Cole Court, one of the cooler places, if anybody hasn't seen a game, to go see a D3 game. And the environment is terrific. Coach, thanks for your time. Safe travels the rest of the way. Good luck against Slicner and the Generals. And we'll look forward to catching up with you sometime down the road. I have a feeling we'll be talking again.
Absolutely. If I have my way, we will be back on here again next year this time.
I'm looking forward to it, LaTanya. You
Thanks,
take care of
Dave.
yourself. Thank you so much for your time.
Bye-bye.
LaTanya Collins joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. What a wonderful conversation on the bus there with the Seahawks of St. Mary's program. Hey, listen, if I'm Mary Slicer and WNL, I ain't overlooking that. That is a team you need to watch out for. They are deep. I know they come out of the UAC, folks, but that is a team worth keeping an eye on. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to another high-flying team, another team with a mascot that's got a bird. It's the Cardinals of Otterbein women's basketball. They're into the tournament. Diana Noles joins us to talk about their squad and what's working so well for them as well. You're watching Hoopsville. Hopefully, if my mouse responds, you're watching Hoopsville presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA studios. Back with so much more in a jam-packed, supersized edition of the Tourney Preview.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us. All of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Comprehensive learning is being able to adapt to experiences and apply the things that I learned. Being an athlete and juggling academics helped me grow as a person, and things that I've learned, I was able to apply it in another field, putting them into everyday life. Developing comprehensive learning helped me prioritize certain things to make sure I get to where I want to be.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
I learned a lot of valuable lessons playing college football. I never thought about the health benefits of exercise until I actually started to talk to coaches in college. It's not only just for performance, it's for life. My coaches instilled the importance of well-being, not only building up strength, mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly is all what it is to be healthy. I decided that I want to go into personal trainer and share my knowledge that I obtained in college about physical and mental well-being.
We are calling you, all of you. We are calling all Division III schools to join our cause.
It's on us to start the change. It's on us to be the change. It's on us. It's on Division III. It's on all of us to stop sexual assault.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all.
It's on us. It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us. All of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we continue to roll along on a jam-packed Tourney Preview show. We're still going with some live interviews here. It is also historic NCAA tournament appearance for the Otterbein women. Second time, thanks to the note. In program history, they're making the NCAA tournament. 22 wins, considering they had 15 last year at 15-11. They were 9-16 the year before that. This is an incredible turnaround. Last time they won 20 games, you got to go back to 2011-12. Well, sorry, 11-12 and 12-13. And they didn't even win 22 that year. This is a very big season for the Cardinals women's program. And to talk all about it and the significance as they prep for a tough Randolph-Macon squad, but maybe beatable, Diana Noles joins us on the Hoopsville hotline from Otterbein. They're not in Westerville right now. They're in Ashland. I might even be able to guess the hotel you're at, but we'll maybe not be too stalkerish. Diana, how are you? Good to see you.
I am great. Thank you so much for having me. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. You on the main drag right there in town?
Nope. We're a little bit out of.
Oh, okay. Oh, I know where you are then. Okay. You're a little south of the city. Yep. Hey, got a chance here to do something special. And get, not only do something by making the NCAA tournament, but maybe get a win. This is an incredible season. 22-5, 14-2 in conference play. You get a big win over Baldwin Wallace in the conference title game to win what is astounding to me, the first conference title for this program. As an alum, that adds a whole nother level to this. This has got to be pretty big, and we're not even talking about this weekend yet.
Yeah, it's been a heck of a season. A lot of firsts. Getting to that conference championship. I mean, our only conference losses were to Baldwin Wallace, so that was a huge step for us in regular season. And these kids were amazing about just keep getting better and keep getting better. We're really young. We have two seniors, and one can't play, and one has had a lot of injuries, and so we've been doing this with a young group, and they've handled it great. They've grown up a lot through the season, that's for sure. And getting to that conference championship game, I mean, you could see it. They were ready. They wanted a shot at Baldwin Wallace again. To go at their place and win was huge for our program. Not just this team. And I think, once we got there, and they're in a good place mentally, they're in a good place physically. And so I think getting there and getting that win, they're kind of walking into this NCAA tournament like they believe they belong here. And I think we do. And so, yes, all the exciting stuff, one of the two teams that make the NCAA tournament in our program history is huge. The 20 win, all that's huge. But I think it's kind of over their head right now. They're doing a really good job of kind of staying locked in and focused, and they just keep wanting, they want one more game. They want one more game, keep doing that. So they're doing a great job of that. I think we'll get to celebrate all the fun stuff later.
The one more game would mean you tie the all-time record for most wins in a season, which is 23, which is what you did your senior year. That would be obviously significant, but it also means a win over Randolph-Macon and making it to the second round of the tournament. That's significant too. You don't want to put a bunch on everybody, right? You don't want to make this a bigger thing than it really is. But as you said, it's been a season of first, so why not another?
Absolutely. And to reiterate, it's one more game. It's what's in front of us. It's one more game. Are we getting better at practice? Are we getting, it's so simple. You think today, you should be, we're at our peak, right? But I think even today, it's one more thing that we're doing. What else are we doing to get better? What are we building on? And from my standpoint, that's huge with how young our team is. Those kids that are playing, they all come back next year. And I think for them to understand that, we're not at our peak. We're not even close. And to keep building and put ourselves in a position, to potentially go out and get our first NCAA win. sounds amazing and awesome, but I don't know that they see it that way. I think they're really just, we're here, let's go play. It's time to play basketball.
Yeah, I mean, you get a chance to play some more, right? Like you get to pick up the ball and continue having practices and continue having games in the month of March, which for a lot of teams is not a reality. Let's look at this season, because I think you flew a little under the radar for a long time. Maybe coming off 15-11, no one knew what to expect. You went 2-2 to start the season with losses to Ohio Wesley and Elmo, with wins over Anderson and La Roche. And then you kind of got into gear a bit. You rattled off 5 wins, including over Mount Union and Heidelberg, Marietta, lost to Denison, who at the time everyone was losing to, but beat a very good W&J team after that. I kind of noticed that. It's 10 days apart, I realize. But you didn't let the Denison loss linger, and you went and beat a very good W&J team. Tell me about just the sequence of getting the season started before conference play and how you guys kind of settled in.
Yeah, those non-conference games, such great looks for us, right? They were so different. Ohio Wesleyan, so different from Denison, so different from W&J. And I think it really, made us focus in on what we do and how we handle, every team differently. What are they throwing at us? Can we handle it? What are we doing offensively? And to be honest, that helped carry over into our conference, because not everybody plays the same way in conference. From offensive scheme to defense, I mean, some of them are so drastically different on total different ends of the spectrum. So I think those non-conference games were huge for us to see that. I also think, again, we are very young, and Denison has a lot of size. That was really something to kind of open up our eyes, and because we're small, we are a really small team, and figure out how we can, counter what they're doing. And our players did a great job. They saw it as definitely a learning experience. We didn't just kind of fold and that was it. It was no, what can we do? We have a lot, our players, they're not all the same kids, which is awesome and fun, and allows us to look to score in many different ways. So it's not like we're just pounding the ball inside or just threes. We score in a variety of ways, and I think they've done such a great job of embracing what their teammates are great at. And so those games, especially the loss to Denison, allow us to grow, and then we definitely came together for that W&J game. I mean, they're a really good team, a really tough matchup, and we were able to pull that one off. Was huge.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, from there on, it was just that stubborn BW team. You had them at the beginning of January and lost by 9. I can do math. And then lost by 15 at their place at the end of January. You beat everybody else in conference. You had a 5-game lead on third place, which was a tie between Mount Union and Capital. Ohio Northern was a further game back. So it was you and BW. Went into the conference tournament, and you knew you got past Mount Union by 10, and you knew Baldwin Wallace was ahead. How'd you guys all prepare for that third game? And what was different other than I noticed you held them to almost 20 points less?
Yeah. First of all, Baldwin Wallace is a phenomenal team, and Sherry has done a phenomenal job there. They are a tough matchup for anybody. I just keep saying they're a well-oiled machine, and they can all score. She can just run, go to the next kid. So we knew that was a super tough matchup for us. We had to make some adjustments. I'm sure, you said we held them in scoring. I mean, they are a great transition 3 team, but everybody can score. And realistically, we had to just man up and defend and force some contested, hard shots. It was low scoring. I mean, we typically want to get out and run. It's really hard to make our kids slow down. Our players, our point guard wants to push a ball and run. And, we're slow down, walk it across half court, So, that was a huge adjustment for us, but I think it was very eye-opening for our players to see, and understand time and flow and that we can kind of adjust our game plan a little bit to who we're playing if we need to. And I think that was a huge moment for them, especially as young players. And you want to I like to give them a little bit of freedom and let them go and play freely. But that Baldwin Wallace game, we were pretty tight on what we were running and where the ball was going, and our kids just came to play. I mean, we had a phenomenal start. I mean, there's no doubt that had a huge impact with our kids, starting. I think we were up 10-0 to start that game, and just gave them the confidence and to believe in each other. And I think we were able to just pull that one off. But man, they are a good team. I expect to see them do some good stuff this weekend.
Yeah, Sherry Hare always seems to have something up her sleeve when it comes to that squad, to say the least. You talk about this being a young team and that the seniors, you've got a couple, but they're not high on the stat sheet. It's amazing looking at the stat sheet. Maddie Walburn, your sophomore forward, at 12.2 points a game, shooting 43% from the floor. It's a junior in Kyla Irby who scores 10 points a game. It's Cameron Sparks, who is a freshman at your center position, who's got 10 points a game and 8.5 boards. And we could continue on. Kiara Hudgens, a sophomore. Abby Rawlings, a junior. Just tell us about how that team's gelling at youth, and not that you're looking ahead, but how this is all kind of putting it together for down the road as well.
Yeah. Well, first, I think those guards in particular returning that you said, Maddie, Kyla, Key, Abby, I mean, they really have set the tone. And I think they understood that from the beginning defensively, let alone on offense, that they share the ball really well. They trust each other. And I just have to reiterate, they know what each other is really good at. And so they trust them when they get the ball in certain spots. And then defensively, Key was freshman of the year last year. We got Cameron Sparks as freshman of the year this year. So being that young and those getting, them getting that love and that attention, I think their teammates, have supported that and truly believe that they deserve those awards. And I think that says a lot about who these kids are. I think, man, they want to play together. They want to win so bad. I think that's really important. When you have a group of kids who are super competitive and just want to win and are willing to do whatever it takes, it really sets the tone for the rest of the team. And I'll be honest, our roster is 15 deep, and it has been really fun practicing with this group of 15, because 1 through 15 want us to win and are doing anything and everything we can. So we have kids that don't play, that aren't getting any minutes, but they're contributing and they're having an impact. And, I think it's important for those kids that play a lot, that lead in that sense, and make sure those kids are aware that they're having an impact on what we're doing. So we just have to keep growing. I mean, being young, I always say, can't look forward. We're right here. What's in front of us? Let's go focus on this game. We have a tough matchup tomorrow. Randolph-Macon is a really, really good team. But I think we need to just focus on doing what we do and keep growing and getting better. And, we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, I was going to touch on them. You do have a squad that's 21-7. You take out a 6-game stretch in January where they lost 4 of 6. This is a little bit of a different looking team. Lindsey Eberhardt has a program that's been very consistent. 29 wins last year, now 21 wins. Previously, before that, several high teen win seasons. Coming out of the ODAC, which is getting more competitive as well. What do you expect from this matchup? What can you look at in terms of other opponents you've played this year to kind of use as a barometer?
It's funny you say that, because we explain to our kids that they have a little bit of everything that we've seen this year. From where they are on the offensive end and defensive end. And I think it's just very fitting to be like, hey, our conference, we've seen this, and this, and we walk into the NCAA, which is where you want to be. And you're like, hey, they can do everything. They can do all that, right? They're taking everything from each team and putting it on the floor. So it's a great opportunity for us to piece together what we've been doing all year and do it all together in the same game. They just are a tough matchup. They're really good. They can absolutely score. They look super disciplined on the offensive end and have a bunch of options. They have some great players on the floor. They can put the ball in their hands. I mean, I think Sam Smith, their point guard, is really, really good at controlling the game. And we're it's a tough matchup for sure. And I think the fun part is to watch our kids, and that's maybe the biggest challenge is being young and not being here, and being young and not being able to piece whole games together at times is probably maybe my biggest fear. But I'm hoping that this year they've done a good job in terms of, game planning and being able to step on the floor and transfer that over. But now it's a lot more you got to piece together for a team like this and in the NCAA tournament.
I've been meaning to ask this question of our other guests, and I keep forgetting. But if we're watching your game in the opening 5 minutes, what should we be keying on to know whether the game's working the way you want it to, and the way Otterbein can get to a win, or that you're going to have to start making some adjustments?
If we can get stops early, I think that's going to be the huge part. If we get stops early, that allows us to get out and transition, and then kind of find our flow offensively. But yeah, we'll have to see what we do from a terms of a matchup and how to defend them. But defense usually is kind of what starts it for us anyways. So if we can come out and get some stops early, I think our players feel good and feel confident, and then we can make adjustments on the offensive end.
You are a Hall of Famer there at Otterbein, 3-time All OAC, I think twice All First Team if memory serves. What's it like you went off, did your own thing for a few years, got back into coaching. You coached at Otterbein as assistant for a while. You went to, Ohio Dominion, I think it was, in Division II for a while. Now you're head coach back at your alma mater. What's it like to bring your team to this point, and after the years you put in to this program to get it to this stage?
I don't know if I can explain it. The amount of alumni and people who've reached out. I mean, just getting to that conference championship game and finally winning it and making it to the NCAA has been, what we've been trying to do. I said that's what all the players before this team has tried to do. They built it. They helped us get here. And so to hear from them and for them to be so excited, so happy for the program and hear the support, I'm at a loss of words to say how much I appreciate all them reaching out and understanding. Like, we put in a lot of time, a lot of work. Baldwin Wallace is tough to beat, and for us to finally go there and beat them and to hear just the support is awesome. And I'm so thankful for Connie to give me the opportunity to come in and take over as a coach after her. She was my coach. She was around a long time. I was her assistant forever. So I'm thankful that she trusted me and she was very open about wanting me to step in and take that role. And I can't thank her enough. And I think it's really fun to go out and get that conference championship and make it here for her, for our alum and all those that have been, behind us and hoping we got here.
Well, it's certainly impressive. Yeah, Connie Richardson had a long career there. It speaks volumes, right? When someone of her status, who was actually head of the whole department at one point, says, yeah, I want you to take over. It means that much. That's pretty impressive. Diana, congratulations. Really great to see Otterbein women not only win a conference title for the first time, but get into the NCAA tournament once again. We appreciate the time you gave us. Enjoy Scranton. It's not what the show paints it to be. Just warning you now if you didn't know. Obviously, there's a big battle on the other side in Scranton, but you got to get past Randolph-Macon first, so we won't even bother with the Royals. But congratulations building on this. I can't wait to have you back on the show again in the future. In the meantime, you probably overheard, we have a tradition. We always let the guest have the last word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuned in?
You know what? I don't. We have a phenomenal group of players, but their families are absolutely amazing and their support has been great. And I think I don't interact with them a ton right now. And I think I want, our players and their families to know how important and awesome their support has been. And then even bigger, I don't think my family enough. I got my husband and 3 kids, they get the short end of the stick in season. And I couldn't be more thankful for them to be so supportive and happy and handle, my craziness and up and down and crazy life. But they hold it together while I'm gone. And I couldn't ask for a better husband and kids. And I'm sure I don't thank them enough, so I have to say thank you to them, and I love them and can't wait to see them keep supporting us.
Well said. Well said indeed. Well, enjoy it no matter what. We'll look forward to catching up with you down the road, and thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you, Dave. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Diana Nolles joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Great to chat with her. Oh, what a wonderful program that is. Another OAC team is coming up, by the way, on the men's side. We're going to talk to Heidelberg in a moment, but before we let Otterbein go, 22-5. Incredible season. You take out the Baldwin-Wallace games, they only lost 3 games in total. That's not bad at all. It's amazing how good women's basketball has gotten, and it's gotten deeper and deeper and deeper. Love it. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll fix the chair once again. We'll also stay in the OAC, as I mentioned. Heidelberg men's basketball on tap here on Hoopsville.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
For the love of the game, but for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's nabc.com or NABC1927 on social media.
I believe sportsmanship is a mutual admiration and respect for your fellow competitors. We all go through a lot to reach the point where we compete against one another. It's important to realize that. So once we're finally on the field or on the court or on the starting block, we look at each other as fellow human beings and not just competitors. Being able to recognize the hard work that other athletes are putting in creates a more positive and inclusive environment.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
for the love of the game. But for those of us...
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. We're continuing on this tournament preview. Got a lot still ahead, so we're going to keep ourselves moving, as it were. Microphone took a little bit of a hit there. If you got questions for us, email us, hoopsville at d3sports.com. You can tweet us at d3hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can join us on the live stream, where we're certainly going to ask questions there as well. Staying in the Ohio Athletic Conference, let's jump over to Heidelberg men's basketball, who are also into the tournament for the very first time. It's an interesting conversation we had with Michael Summey yesterday. This is a first-year head coach who has gotten Heidelberg to a place they haven't been in a bit, and wow, what a tournament run they had. Great conversation with him. Now joining us on the Hoopsville hotline, it's the head coach of the Student Princes of Heidelberg. It is Michael Summey. Coach, good to see you. Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time.
Hey, Dave. Thanks so much for having me. It's an exciting time of year, and I'm happy we're still playing and I'm able to be here with you.
It's impressive that you guys have gotten here. Obviously, it's out of the tough OAC. We'll talk a little bit about that and the route. 16-12 this season, 7-9, but man, caught on fire just at the right time, winning 5 of the last 6. Let's just talk about the end before we talk about the entire resume. What clicked at the end to get through Muskegon, Otterbein, and Mount Union, not in that order,
No, it's for sure.
to clinch it all and to clinch this bid?
Yeah, I think it's been a process the whole year, getting to where we are today. And I'm sure that's true of everyone that coaches any sport. First day we met with these guys, we talked about begin with the end in mind. And that comes from Coach Larinaga. I was fortunate to work for Jim Larinaga at the University of Miami from 2011 through 2013 and experienced a lot of great success on the floor, but I also learned so much from him as a mentor, as a coach, as a person. That's really important in my life. And he said he would start every season with begin with the end in mind. And we did that here as well. And so all year long, we were working towards this point. Some days it just didn't feel like we were going to get here quick enough. But the end of the year, by the end of the year, one of the great things with our team, and it's not so great when you start with this, is when I arrived here and hired a staff, it was July, second week of July, before we were able to get going. And we only returned 3 guys that had scored any. And 2 of those guys had averaged 2.1, and one of them, Markel Johnson-Nichols, had averaged 13.8. And we were so fortunate that Markel stayed with us and stuck with us. But all 3 of those guys have helped to really get us to this point. And you talk about the end, they've been consistent from day one. It was just getting everyone, including myself, all on the same page. And so one of the great things, though, in putting a team together, when you have to do it the way we did it and having basically 1 month's time to do it, and I know others have even had less. I know what Gettysburg's done has been amazing. But you learn to adapt, and you're forced to adapt. You're not given all the great, you don't say, I'm going to make spaghetti, and you go in there and you've got the best noodles and the best ground beef and the best sauce. And you go in there and you go I'm going to make, and you open the cabinet and you figure out what's there. And then you decide what you're going to make. And it's kind of how our team has been. We put it together. Staff and I spent a lot of long nights here in July, early August, trying to figure out how are we going to put this thing together and what is it going to look like. And I think to the kids' credit, and I think maybe a little bit, a lot to the staff, and tried to guide them in the right direction, but we figured out what we had and how we could be the best version of ourselves moving forward. There's been a lot of adjustment. We've guarded things one way in November, and then by late November it doesn't work. And then you do another thing in early December, and by mid-December it doesn't work. And then you have all the trials and the turmoil that goes on within our daily lives throughout the season, and the players' daily lives. And you're just trying to balance and manage all that as you move forward. And like I said, I have a great staff. Nick Marcinek and Jason Fazy have been amazing for me. I'm 50. They are 27 and 23, so they're a combined 50. So there's an age gap there, but it's also like they've been able to just keep grinding away at it. Sometimes I remember being that age and like just having so much energy and so much enthusiasm to do what you, and they give me a lot of that. So it's been a process, getting to where we are. And then I have older guards, I have older experienced players in general. And when I worked for a guy, Rob Krimmel, once at St. Francis, Pennsylvania, who was a terrific coach. And one thing he said to me when I went there to work for him in 2013, he said, Mike, just get to the final 10 games with older guards and they're going to fight. They're going to fight. And so when you get to that final period of your season, it doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but it means if you can get there with a good mindset, with healthy bodies, and with guys that are, full heart, clear mind, like can't lose mentality, then you're going to be okay. And we were able to stick true to that. And as we got towards the end, like these guys have really, really, really bought into all the adjustments. I mean, there's so many things we've changed. It's not even funny. Like I look, it's like a madman's desk right here, but I'll find a paper from like November and be like, what were we thinking? We can't do this. Like, who do we beat doing this? Like, this is impossible. But it's been fun, and even up until last week, we changed things like, on Sunday after we figured out how we were playing, where we were playing, who we were playing, in the OAC tournament, we did one thing on Sunday and then came back in on Monday and completely scrapped it and went with something different on Monday before we went and played Tuesday. So I have a good group of guys who's they've been open to change.
Well,
and I think that's what's allowed me to be me.
Well, it's interesting because you guys clearly had, fits and feasts, and it was all over the place. You started the season losing 3 of 5, then you won 3 in a row, then you lost 4 of 6, then you won 4 in a row, then lost 4 in a row, and now you've won 5 of the last 6. What I find most interesting in that 4-game losing streak at the end to Ohio Northern, Muskegon, Otterbein, Mount Union was Muskegon, Otterbein, Mount Union. You went and then beat those same 3 right after that. What was it? Was it literally what you're just describing and throwing everything out and starting over and coming in with a different look that even those teams weren't ready for what the new Heidelberg was a week later?
I mean, it's I don't know if it was like totally throwing everything out, but I think it was adjusting, adapting, not even like really redefining ourselves. We've always been able to score. We have to find different ways to defend. We're not very big. But it seems like in tournament play, guards kind of carry you. And Riley Gossum's playing the 5 for us. He's 6'3", 192 pounds. Like that's not very big. So we have to find ways to adapt. And but Riley's been an absolute workhorse. Like he doesn't take a day off ever. And you have to force him to take a day off. But when you have that mentality and you have guys that don't want to end their season, they weren't looking at February as like, we're not very good. Let's get this over with. They were looking at, and they spread the mentality throughout our locker room and throughout the program of like, hey, we're not done. We're not done. Let's get better. Let's get better. And you're right. Like I hadn't even really, really, really thought about it or dwelled on the fact that in that 4-game losing streak, it was the 3 teams plus Ohio Northern who was had a great season and finished 3rd in our league and beat us like a drum. And there were so many times where I felt like our team could have just said like, I've been on teams before that said, this is enough. It's enough. Like, hey, let's just, good run, didn't make it. Like, but this team never did that. This team never did that, and the staff didn't do it. And I benefited from that right there. We didn't really throw everything out, but we did realize like what we're doing isn't working. Let's figure something else. Okay, can we do this? What if we do this? What if we do that? And I think also as a first-year head coach is, I had been the head coach before at Bethany College in 08, 09, and I had a lot of older kids then and really benefited from that. But the world was different with the portal and transferring and things like that. And we retained a ton of guys that were on a good Bethany team the year before. We didn't lose. We lost the two first team all PAC guards on that team. And that was a difference maker. But we were able to bring some kids in, and then we mixed and matched. This is completely different. This is a totally different world we live in right now. And the portal and transferring everything has moved down to Division III. And so when we got here we had like 17 points returning. And that was so we just kind of figured it out, and it's kind of been a hodgepodge. But, when we got to the end of the season, we had tried most things. We're like, okay, let's do a hybrid. Let's mix this plus this. This was really good. This wasn't. Let's mix this, and this, and just figure it out. I always think it's funny, Dave, like you go on, and I've been on a lot of interviews for different head coaching jobs, different places. And the question that always gets asked, they say like, how are you going to play? And I think it's the easiest layup question for them to ask, and it's absolutely worthless. And I don't mean to be a jerk in saying that, but it is. Like, what do I have?
Yeah, it depends on a lot of factors, right?
Yeah, I don't know like, you want me to tell you we're going to go inside? Well, we're not if we don't have size. You want me to tell you we're going to play fast? We're not if we're not fast. If we're not good in transition, either offensively or defensively. You want me to do you want the answer that you think I'm supposed to give you, or do you want the truth? The truth is I don't know. Like, I go home and it's like I jokingly said, but like seriously, I go home and say like, I'm going to eat spaghetti, and you open up the cabinet and you have 2 boxes of cereal and orange juice. Like, you're not going to eat spaghetti tonight. Not unless you go find some spaghetti or buy some spaghetti. Like, so I guess the point is like, I got to see what's in the cabinet first before I know how we're going to play. How will we play next year? I don't know. We'll figure it out when we figure out who we have. Like, when recruiting's done and we get to that point, we'll figure out a way. And I trust in like our staff and the guys that we bring in here to be able to adapt.
I'm curious, you guys were the first team to beat the Purple Raiders this season. You got them 83-76 at home, middle-ish, late-ish January. You then saw them again, as we pointed out, in February. They beat you 85-67, and then you got them back 84-82 at their place. What was it that you guys matched up so well with Mount Union that worked, that got 2 out of 3, that maybe you can utilize now into the NCAA tournament and teams against Illinois Wesleyan and maybe others?
Yeah, I don't even know that maybe it equates a little bit to to being smaller, to not, we're not trying to play 5-on-5 the way that you traditionally think of 5-on-5. Like, Riley Gossam, like I said, has hit a ton of threes. He shoots 34% from 3. He's our 5. And then Brady Bosma is another kid who's stayed and has had both of those kids' best years of their careers, and rightfully so. It's their final year. That's how it happens a lot of times. And he shot 37, 38%. I think like one of the things that helps us is, and I've been on both sides of this. When I was at the University of Miami, we were like the 14th largest team, 14th tallest team, whatever, on KenPom, however they measure that. Like, because we had, 6'10" and 6'9" and 6'11", and like we had all that on the front line. Well, if you have that, you throw it inside and you work inside out and all that. That's not really how we've played. And I think Mount Union is so good. I mean, Dave, I don't think people really completely, maybe you do, but not just Mount Union of the past, but this team right now for Mount Union and Otterbein as well. Both are built to win in the NCAA tournament. I think one thing that is a little bit different is you build a team that is going to be successful. It's going to get 22 wins like like Otterbein did, or 23 wins like Mount Union did, and be nationally ranked. And you know that we're going to be playing in March, and we're gonna push forward, and we're going to be able to compete in that. Sometimes it's unanswered prayers on our ends. Like some of the guys that we were trying to bring in here that didn't come in July and August had created a little bit of a vacuum in certain positions, and it forced us to be creative instead of a simple cookie cutter offense, cookie cutter defense, where it's like, oh, well, we'll have 6'8" in the post, and we'll have 6'5" at the 4 and 6'3". Like, we're not going to have that. That's not going to be who we are. So how do we play to our advantage, you know? And at the end of the day, like, I have older guys. Markel's a junior, but everyone else is a senior, you know, on that starting lineup. And, you know, you add Jarvel Gainey to the mix. Jarv came in from Florida and, you know, fit in perfectly with this group. But this group's very accepting and very open to change and to new members. And as long as everybody's on the same page, like, we've just found our way to, when we're unselfish with the ball and share it with each other, we look at our, and I never do this. I never go to like points per game and stuff like that. Like, I looked up our stats from last year to this year 2 nights ago for the first time ever. I looked at our stats for our team, and this is probably dumb. I mean, it's probably I should probably be better, but I didn't know who was our leading scorer. I didn't know how many assists we had or how many turnovers we had. I didn't know. The only thing I looked at, this is 1,000% honest, Dave. The only thing I looked at was like how many free throws we've attempted versus how many our opponents have attempted, how many we've made. And I knew that that's a stat that I wanted to keep, where we've made more than our opponents have attempted. That right there kind of felt to me like it was important to our success. And but I didn't know who was like, and then when I go and I look at it and I see like we have 13.9, 13.8, 13.8, 12 point something, 11 point something, and 9.6. Like, yeah, that's kind of how I like it. That's, you know, like I like it like that. I'm sure some kids would love to be averaging 24, but that's not who we are. And it's kind of not who I want us to be. I want us to be, team is so important to me. Like the way that we play, the way we're together, the togetherness that this group has. The only time I really raise my voice, yell and scream, and they'll tell you, is when I feel like we're not being unselfish. When we're worried, I say out of me and into we. They laugh at that now, and that's become like their running joke. But out of me and into we is like really important for me.
Well, it's interesting because you see that statistically, Mike. You've got essentially 6 guys in double figures. Your low point is Riley Gossam at 9.6 points a game. I'm rounding up. Brady Bosma's at 10.4. Jarvel Gainey's at 11.8. Marcus Vasquez is at 13.8, along with Trey Killens, and 13.9 for Markel Johnson-Nichols. And then I slide over to rebounds. Almost all of them are 4 or higher in terms of rebounding, between 4 and 6 rebounds a game. So everybody's grabbing boards. And then you slide over to assists. Marquez Vasquez, 5.2 a game. Markel Johnson-Nichols, 3.7. And Trey Killens, 2.4. To your point of unselfish play, everybody's scoring, everybody's getting rebounds, and you got 3 guys who are handing out assists that most coaches would kill to have just one of their guys averaging per game.
You know, it's like I grew up, and my favorite player in North Carolina, I was an NC State fan, and Chris Corchiani was like a legend in my eyes. And I've gotten to know Chris since, and he's even a better person than he was player. But he was an amazing player, and he had 1,000 assists. And then right after him was Bobby Hurley, who had 1,000 assists. And then, you know, like Adrian Autry was up at Syracuse getting 800, 900. Like these guys, that's how their career, that's how the game was played back then. And that's not the game today. Today, the game is a little bit different. It's been fun to coach this team because there is such a mentality of, I'm going to take two to give you an opportunity to score. I'm going to draw two defenders and find a way to get you a shot. And if you've got a better one, we'll go one more. And there's not a selfish mentality. It's a very unselfish mentality. We've got two guys that are going to be over 100 assists, and Markel's at 99, and it's been fun to coach that. It's almost old school mentality. It's kind of, I'm 50, so I'm old, but it's like kind of what I grew up with, like seeing that. And it's been fun because now the mentality is to score. The point guard is the scorer, and like we've got multiple guys that have played point guard on different teams, and I think that shows in the way that they play now. And it's been fun for them to have teammates that they trust to be able to give that ball up and help our team win. And that's all it's really been about. Like when we say we say control, we control, make the main point, and it being like winning is, we walk in there and like for 2 hours, winning is all that matters. We all have a lot of stuff going on in our lives, but like all that matters is just winning. How do we do that?
Well, you got tough test ahead of you, and top 10 Illinois Wesleyan coming up in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I guess that's what you draw when you're your underdog and steal a bid, as it were. How are you preparing for the Titans and Ron Rose's team? What are you expecting?
They're great. They're great. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, I've watched so many of their games, and it's like they've learned to adapt as well through an injury and different things throughout the season, and everybody does, but they do it as well as anyone or better than most. Like the great part with being in the OAC is we have played a high level competition, but obviously they are special. They're unique in what they have, and it'll be a great challenge for us. I think my guys like challenges, but at the same time, you like challenges, but we've had like you said, it's not been like smooth sailing. Like we've learned through the challenges, and now you're at the point in the year where what you've learned has to come through. There's no like, we'll get better tomorrow. I mean, it's like you've got to be good every day, and you've got to be able to on the fly adjust and make maybe adjustments mid-game and even from timeout to timeout that you previously could just, you take the loss, you don't take the loss, but you deal with the thing that you don't do well, and later you can figure it out. You got to figure it out right away. They're a great team, and he's an amazing coach. And just going back and looking at his history and what he's achieved and what he's done there, he's wins about 70+% of his games, and like I was just fighting my tail off to get to 500. So it'll be a great challenge, but one I think that we're excited about, and we're not fearful. With the older guys, you're not fearful of anyone, but you're excited for the opportunity.
I'm curious your story a little bit. You mentioned Bowling Green, sorry, Bethany. It's where you coached in Division III for that 1 year. You're an NC State grad. You had a couple stints at St. Francis, who will be coming to Division III, as we all know. Miami, Bowling Green, as I mentioned, and you got this job after being the general manager of basketball operations, essentially at Utah. What is it about Heidelberg? What is it about this job? Because you felt like that prototypical D1 guy, right? Like that's where your life was. So what was it about coming back to Heidelberg, or not back to Heidelberg, but into Division III and to Heidelberg for this job that, as you said, you picked up midsummer?
Yeah. I mean, Dave, as a kid, I wanted, what do we all want? We all want to be a great player, right? You want to be a great player at something. You want to be Del Murphy for the Atlanta Braves. You want to be whoever, but, then when you realize like, okay, that's not me, I'm not going to be that guy. Like I knew that I wanted to coach. And so as I went to college, I knew that I wanted to coach, and I was really fortunate. I worked for Herb Sendek at NC State. I worked for Les Robinson first, and then Coach Sendek came my last 3 years, and then my grad school years, like my last year of undergrad and then grad school, I was able to work for Coach Sendek, and I learned so much, and that staff was amazing. Like Larry Harris was on that staff, but Sean Miller was on that staff as well. John Gross was on that staff, and John's at Akron, and Sean's obviously at Texas. And we just had, I learned so much right there about what coaching really was. And so I got in where I could get in. You know, the first job pays $10,000, and then you get a $17,000 job and you feel like you're rich, and then you get a $22,000 job. But it was a labor of love for a lot of years, like until, you know, I got a call about Bethany College, and I really thought like I don't really know about Division III. I'm not sure how this is going to work. You know, I don't know a lot. So I tried to do some research, but I mean, when you're 32 and you try to do research, you don't really know who to call and what. And I just took a jump. I took an opportunity and went to Bethany and was so fortunate that they gave it to me, and really fortunate to the players there that they accepted me the way they did. I was happy. I was happy as could be in Bethany, West Virginia. I mean, I had a great president, a great athletic director, and great support, and thought that that's where I would be for a really long time. I knew that the all-time winningest coach had like 118 wins, and I'm like, I think I can get there. So that was kind of what I was going to do. Then I got a call from the University of Miami, and went down there to work for 2 years for Frank Haith, and then Coach Larinaga came. And as I said, like sometimes you just don't like you want to fall into good situations, but you don't ever like sometimes you don't know how you got there. And it was hard to leave Bethany because I was really happy. The first time they asked me to go to Miami, I said no, because I felt like I had found my place. But you get lured by the ACC and by they said, come spend a day with us. And I'm 32, 33, and I'm single, and they take me to Miami. Come on. Like I'm not an idiot. Like they knew weaknesses. So I go down there and spend a day, and I'm like, man, this weather and this beach and everything, this is great. So I started back along that path, and I'm so glad I did, simply for not because I'd leave Bethany, but because I got to work for Coach Larinaga and an amazing staff. And that would propel me for the next 15 years, kind of trying to figure out my way through, navigate through that, and meet some amazing people. And like I said, Coach Al, but also that staff, Chris Caputo, Eric Conkle, head coach at Tulsa, and George Washington. Michael Huger was also on that staff. And as we won a championship in 2013, I got to sit in those meetings and beside those guys and learn and experience it with them firsthand. And when Coach Huger got the job at Bowling Green, and this brings me to Heidelberg, that's why I tell this story, because as I was at St. Francis, he got the job at Bowling Green, and he offered me an assistant spot on his staff, and I went to Bowling Green, and we started out being at the bottom of the MAC. We were first year we finished 12th. We did win 2 games in the MAC tournament, and that was a nice run to get to the semis. That was really fun. But the real fun became in building that program. In my last 2 years, we won 22 and 21 games, and the 21, I think, was in the COVID year. It was either 21-22 or 22-21, but I know we won back-to-back 20-win seasons. And in that process, I got to know some people in this area because it's still Northwest Ohio. It's only like 45 minutes away from here, 50 minutes away. And one of the people that I met through recruiting and bringing some kids in was a board of trustee member, Steve Marin. And Steve's from Miami, and we connected there. And then we got to connect again up at Bowling Green because he's Cuban American from South Florida, and super amazing guy. And he helped me in recruiting some players to Bowling Green. But he would come up through this way because he was going to trustee meetings at Heidelberg, where he graduated from. And he played basketball here, and he graduated from Heidelberg. And so that was the first connection that I knew. And so there were a couple of days where I would go driving, and I'd be like, oh, let me go down this road. Let me go see what Steve was talking about. So I drove through Tiffin a few times and got to know where it was all about, but never thought like this is going to be my future, right? Didn't know how it was going to go. Years would play out, and as you said, last year I was out at Utah, and I was working for Craig Smith, and loved Coach Smith. He was amazing to me. Did not think that thing would end as quickly as it did. You know, we were 7-8 in the Big 12. We had just beaten Kansas and Kansas State. And I'll let somebody else figure out why. But Craig Smith's an amazing coach, a great coach, and an amazing person. There's not one thing that he could have done differently or should have done differently in building that program. And it was going in the right direction. And for whatever reason, change was made. And when that happens, it makes you kind of reevaluate, like, man, if this guy doing everything right, doing all the right things, being the right person, if they're going to do this to him, then maybe I need to reevaluate, when was I happy? And you think about that, and you can't recreate the Miami because that's, you know, Coach Larinaga was just a special person, and you can't just go back to Bowling Green because you were happy there, because people change and times change, coaches change, staffs change. But you start thinking about, where was I happy? And I knew that if, like, hey, if I can go work for Coach Larinaga, yeah, that'd be great, but he had just retired. And then if I can go work for Michael Huger, that'd be great, because I was really happy at both those places. But he had left Bowling Green. He's an associate head coach at Temple. And then I thought about Bethany. I'm like, you know what? You were really happy. You were really happy at Bethany. It took me about a month and a half to kind of wrap my head around, like, why don't you do this? Why don't you look to do that again? Like, why don't you look to be happy again in that way? And so it's like I had my own leather couch. I was talking to myself, laying back, doing the psychoanalysis almost. But that's when I decided, like, I called some friends and they said, man, you were really happy there and you did a good job. And I don't know if I did a good job, but I think they saw that I was happy. And that's what I wanted. So I started seeking out places. And sure enough, right when I was in Miami visiting some friends, Heidelberg opened. And I called Steve and I said, Steve, can I come speak with you? Let me come talk to you. He's like, do you heard about Heidelberg? I said, yeah. He said, come on over to the house tomorrow. So I went over there, and sure enough, you know, we sat down, we talked about it, and that was the start of it. And from that day forward, like, it wasn't like a full court press by either side. It was just like, let's get to know each other and see how it works out. And that's kind of the story of how I got here. And when I first got here, I wanted to make sure it was right. And within about 15 minutes, I'm driving in, I'm like, I don't know. And within 15 minutes, and the people that I met, our athletic director, Greg Cooper, like, we have a great president, Rob Huntington. I was like, yeah, this is for me.
Awesome. What a great story. Michael, I appreciate the time and the insight on you, on the team, and everything. A great deep dive on Heidelberg. I really appreciate your time, and looking forward to seeing how you guys do, not only this year, but how you now take this program into the future. It's certainly a story I'm invested in now. So we have a tradition on this show, don't know if you know that, where we give the guests the final word, though. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who are tuned in?
No, I mean, I just am so grateful I'm excited to talk about Heidelberg, excited to talk about our team. I don't do these often or ever. But when you reached out, I knew that this is one that because I do watch your show, I do follow, and I'm really grateful that you chose us to speak about. And I think this team is worthy of that. So thank you so much. And I hope we give you something fun to watch in the next day, in the days ahead.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for saying yes. We appreciate it. Take care. Enjoy the tournament, and we'll look forward to catching up in the future.
Thank you.
Michael Sumi joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. What an absolutely awesome conversation with Mike Summey. Just terrific, in-depth. Again, another coach like LaTanya Collins coming outside of Division III, entering Division III, and realizing this is the place to be. That's my wording. It's my wording. Amazing conversation with him. It went long, and I didn't want it to stop. Michael Summey, great job there at Heidelberg. Congratulations. What a story about how he got there. Like, just the stories he has. He's one of those I want to sit down with a drink, sit back, and hear his stories. Amazing. Great job, Heidelberg. Still more ahead on the Hoopsville. We are going to switch down to Texas. We're going to check out that Women's Texas pod. We're going to talk to some kangaroos. Yeah, they exist. They exist in the U.S. because the Austin women's basketball team are the Roos. We'll talk to them coming up. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. So much more ahead on this Tourney Preview.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's NABC.com or NABC1927 on social media. Another unexpected team in the NCAA tournament. Welcome back to the Hoopsville Show. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. If you got questions for us, email us hoopsville@d3sports.com, or you can join us on the live chat on our live stream where we're, answering questions if you want to answer them there. You can also tweet us at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and Threads and all those other places as well. Austin women's basketball are 16-11, 11-5 in conference play, but it doesn't matter if you punch your ticket to the conference tournament. They've won 4 of their last 5 with a win over Hendricks. They punched in, and they're taking on Hardin Simmons in that Texas pod in the women's side of things. Olivia Hunt, who's a grad of Austin, kind of fits the theme that we've had today of some of these coaches being conference or being alums of their programs and getting a big difference with their programs now as coaches. We chatted with Olivia Hunt about what this means for her and the program and why it's such a significant thing to not only win, but get to the tournament. Now join us on the Hoopsville Hotline to talk about the Roos. I mean, please, can't get a better mascot. It's Austin women's basketball coach Olivia Hunt. Coach, good to see you. Kangaroos, forgive the phrase, jumping pretty high right now.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming on. I think let's start with just the obvious. You take over a program that was 9-17 last year, 1-24 2 seasons ago. They're 16-11, 11-5 in conference play, and you beat some good teams to punch your ticket to the conference tournament. You had some help, admittedly. It's nice if someone can knock off Colorado College and get them out of the way. But still took advantage of the opportunities, and here you are playing in the NCAA tournament. This is exactly how you wrote it up for your first year, right?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, I think every championship has a little bit of help. You need luck to keep you healthy and get the matchups going in your favor. But very proud of how my team competed last weekend, knocking off the defending champs in Texas Lutheran, and then going up against the home team in Hendricks College, getting to host the conference tournament. So it was a live environment. Their student section was probably 500 deep. So it was loud in there, and we probably had 40 people there with including our team. So it was good to silence them there a little bit at the end. But yeah, it was a great first year.
You're saying there was a little bit of imbalance, maybe just a little bit?
As it should have been, right? They did what they were supposed to do to support their team.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting, because they came out, first quarter was kind of equal. Second quarter, they really kind of dominated and had a good-sized lead at halftime. And you role reversed it in the second half, including an incredible fourth quarter, 21-10. I'm curious, what was said at halftime or during that second half that kind of flipped the script on that entire game?
Yeah, great question. There were a couple things. Big one was rebounding. They were out rebounding us 22-11 at halftime. So we weren't ending possessions. So that was a big thing, because ultimately all rebounding comes down to is effort. So we had to pick that little bit up. And then the second thing was we needed to run our offense and want to take shots. Those were the two main messages, the rebounding and the executing and being ourselves. Because there was a little bit of a stretch there offensively in the second quarter where we just weren't really playing our game. And who's going to be good when they're not playing their game? So, you know, they had us in the first half. And then we really committed to what we do in the second half there, which is some high level defense. I think we did that for 80 minutes in the tournament. Both games we played high level defense, but then let our offense take care of itself, get into half court offense, which is what we do the best, and execute there so we can give ourselves the best chance to knock down a good shot.
You got the rebounding edge in the second half, 22-14. It certainly worked out well. You mentioned the Texas Lutheran game in the semis, beating them 53-43. We should point out, just 20 days, or 3 weeks, almost exactly to the day. Earlier, you had lost to them 73-60 at their place. Obviously, location probably plays a little bit of a factor, but that's a big switch. Mm-hmm. What was the mentality going in? Because you went from losing 73-60 to beating them 53-43. That is a huge 30-point swing on the defensive end.
Yeah, I mean, we clicked this weekend defensively. We've been a good defense all year, and it's something we prided ourselves on, but holding Texas Lutheran 27 points below their scoring average in a conference tournament, that comes from playing predictable team defense. And that was our message, playing together. Texas Lutheran's really good, and they just have hoopers, right? So we need to make all of them feel like they're playing 1-on-5. And ultimately, we were able to do that.
I want to go back. Obviously, you start the season, you come in as head coach of your alma mater after a few years of being an assistant at other programs in Texas. You take over. You all start the season 4-2, but then hit a stretch where you lose 6 of 7. And so now you're sitting at 5-8 on the year, pivoting into the middle of January. Admittedly, this is where things can kind of just completely come off the rails, pack it in. Hey, we've learned some things. We'll get ready for next year. What was that first 13 like versus essentially the second 13?
We are a completely different team. There was just a learning curve, you know, with new players or new coach, learning the system. Admittedly, it took a little bit of time. And we were able to win some games early on as we were learning, but then we also dropped some. And I am incredibly proud of my team for sticking with it and continuing to be bought in through the adversity that we had there in the middle of the season. Because you're right. I mean, it could have gone in a completely different direction, but they bought into what we were trying to do. And ultimately, I mean, I have really good basketball players on my team. We had to get the chemistry between me and the team, and with each other. And once it happened, you know, we were able to put ourselves in a good position to win multiple basketball games and ultimately come out as we did.
It's an impressive, again, it's under a first-year head coach. You go 11-3 in your last 14 for the simple math, and you get that important win. Obviously, you'll be playing in Texas in the NCAAs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But how do you get everybody to buy in? Is it a buying in on the defensive end? It's buying in on offense. Is it understanding new roles maybe for some players who are used to playing in certain ways? What was kind of that dynamic?
All three of those things were definitely the case. But defensively, like that's where we start. And it's crazy for me. I was not a good defender, but that's where my team, you know, has their identity. And, you know, that's what a good coach is, right? You find the strengths of your players and you make it shine. And I have some dogs on the ball. And then I have some players who really buy into the system and are really good team defenders. So once we leaned into that and realized that we could, you know, start holding people to lower numbers, then we realized, okay, we can execute now in the half court. We don't have to play at a super fast pace all the time. Take the air out of the ball a little bit, and, you know, give ourselves the best chance to take good shots.
You're a 2017 grad. We'll let everybody know. Good season that year, 19-8, 10-4 in conference play. Last time this team was a SCAC champion or in the NCAA tournament was 2020. So they've had some success since. Mm-hmm. But again, we point out came in to a program that was kind of rebuilding or needed to be rebuilt. You got some time. Unlike some other coaches we've talked to this year or even on this show, you were hired in April. Like you've gotten almost a full year now under your belt. I'm curious, what was your strategy coming in? What was the mentality as you came in to a program that in some ways was kind of a shell of a program that you knew?
Oh, man. The identity and the culture was still there. And that was great to see, that, they still love each other. And this is a group that was very together. And they just needed somebody to believe in them. And ultimately that's all I did. The credit goes to my players. I have some really high level basketball players on my team, to shout out a couple of them, that had a ton of success in the tournament. Avery Miller was the MVP of the conference, our point guard. She leads us. And then our backup point guard, Maya Dotson, was also on that all tournament team. And then we have a really, really skilled offensive post player in Brooklyn Matthews. And all three of them were really successful in this last weekend, just to name a few. I could go down the entire list. But we got the buy-in. The culture was there. They just needed to have the basketball ironed out, and ultimately they bought in and they made it happen.
What did you learn as a coach during your time? We should point out you did a GA year there at Austin, and then you moved on to some other institutions. What did you learn as a coach, as an assistant, and all that you're bringing to the floor?
Good question. All coaching is taking little bits and here or there. Nobody comes up with anything new on their own anymore at this point. So I've worked for a lot of really good coaches. Actually, everybody I've worked for along the way has been an Austin College alumni. So Paulie Thomason at UT Dallas, and then Jason Burton, both at Texas A&M Commerce, now East Texas A&M and North Texas. So learned a ton from them on both sides of the ball, and culturally how to build a program. So definitely took some stuff from them. And we used it to help us win basketball games. So appreciative of everything I have learned along the way.
You sure you learned anything from Polly Thomason? I don't know. I've known Polly for years. She's not that great a coach.
She's a dog on that clipboard, man.
Yes, she is.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, she is. Interesting, your team, because it doesn't stand out when we start talking about statistics. You got your leading scorer is at 10 points a game in Lexi Martin. Your second highest scorer in Avery Miller is at 9.8. But this is where it starts getting interesting. Brooklyn Matthews at 8.7, Trinity Williams at 8.4, Maya Dotson at 6 points. It kind of is even. So you don't have any dominating forces necessarily, but you certainly have a lot of contributors. How does that all play out?
Yeah, we're an incredibly balanced effort. And I think that's what makes us good. You don't know who to dial in on, because it could be anybody's given night. And if Lexi gets hot from three or Maya gets hot from three, then, we're going to be in a really good position to win basketball games. Same thing with Trinity Williams. She's the definition of a stretch four. She can score inside and she can really shoot the ball well. And then I mentioned Brooklyn Matthews earlier. She's one of the most skilled Division III post players that I've been around. Her touch around the basket is honestly second to none. So that's what makes us unique, is that it could be anybody's turn. And I guess the stressful thing for me is I don't know who it's going to be. So I just got to trust that one of them is going to step up. But for the most part, it does happen.
You're taking on a Hardin Simmons squad, Kendra Whitehead's team on the other end with 22 wins, a program that's obviously well known.
Yeah.
What are you seeing already on video and all of that as you try and prepare for that kind of program?
Yeah, she has done nothing short of an incredible job there at her alma mater as well. So they're really true with what they do. Their offense is simple and effective. But we're really true to what we do, and our defense is simple and effective. We did play them earlier in the year. We lost by 11 at home. We had a great first quarter and then just couldn't quite hang on. So I'm looking forward to getting another go at them.
And that game was part of the beginning of that 6 out of 7 we talked about earlier in December. I was going to say, you kind of did what you needed to do, right? You held them to 55 points and scored 44. Your team feels like a team that needs it low scoring. How do you flip the script in that scenario?
Well, I think, man, watching the film back from then, we are a completely different team. And I think defensively back then, we had found our identity, but offensively, we were still trying to figure it out. And so we're more than capable of scoring more than 44 points in a basketball game now. So having our offense kind of catch up to our defense, but knowing that we can lean on our defense to keep games low scoring. I mean, that's the name of the game.
Coincidentally, that's the same score in the Hendricks win, 55-44. For those who like synchronicity or something along those lines. I know you're not looking ahead past this, but what does this kind of momentum do for the program to show that you can get double-digit wins, you can be in this national conversation? They've had one 10-plus win season since that last SCAC championship, and it was in 21-22 with 10 wins. What can this do momentum-wise moving forward?
I mean, there's no doubt that it's going to be beneficial from a recruiting standpoint. So, backing myself up a little bit for, doing what I say we're going to do. But I always knew this was going to be the case. Austin College women's basketball, back when I was here, we had a ton of success, both as a GA and as a student. I won 2 regular season championships. So knowing that we can get to 10-win seasons, or more, it wasn't a new concept to me. I know it could be done here. And Michelle Feilander did a great job before me with the program. So I knew it could be the case. It was getting our players to believe that it could be the case because they hadn't done it here. And, they needed to believe in themselves as much as they needed me to believe in them. And once they started doing that and they saw that this could be possible, then, we started firing there at the end. And that's how we did end with some wins there down the stretch.
This is a relatively short trip to Hardin Simmons. It's what, maybe 3-4 hours in total for that location you guys all are up on the river in Oklahoma?
Yeah,
near Oklahoma,
hours.
Not in Oklahoma.
Yeah, 4 hours. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, that's relatively short in the grand scheme of things.
That's short for Texas travel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, congratulations. Really impressive what you've been able to do. I know you've impressed many around the country with being able to kind of flip the script, as it were, and return into this SCAC conversation, the ever-changing SCAC. So a conversation for another time. We have a tradition on this show, though. We always give the guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Thank you for having me. Thank you for what you do for Division III basketball. We've got some hoopers in Division III, so if you're tuned into this podcast, you already know that. But let's let everybody know. And as my team would say, and as I would say, all glory to God.
Well, congratulations again, Coach. Thank you for the time. Good luck, and we'll look forward to catching up with you at some point down the road.
Thank you so much.
She is Olivia Hunt, head coach of the Austin Kangaroos. Great conversation there with Coach. Fascinating insight with yet another coach who's taken her alma mater, their alma mater, to better places. What a theme, right? That's a fascinating little pod down there. I don't. Gordon Mann wrote up what he thinks might happen with it, but I'm not counting Austin out. Not at all. They've got a tough battle with Hardin Simmons, I should say, though I think Hardin Simmons has a tough battle with Austin. Looking forward to seeing how that whole thing plays out here shortly. We're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to jump into central Illinois, northern central Illinois, west of Chicagoland. Aurora men's basketball is into the tournament, and I think they've got one of the more fascinating matchups against Claremont Mudd Scripps. Ryan Scott thinks so as well. We'll talk to their head coach coming up. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com. Back with a lot more after this.
for the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
We are the coaches of women's basketball. We are leaders and teachers, dreamers and winners. We are professionals who conduct ourselves ethically and with integrity. We place the education, safety, and well-being of the athletes we coach above all else and teach them the fundamental values they need to succeed in life. We are coaches united for the good of our game and those who play it. We are the WBCA.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's nearly 850 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over 2 decades. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit NABC.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's NABC.com or NABC1927 on social media. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we continue to roll along on this supersized edition of the tournament preview program. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. You can email us questions, hoopsville at d3sports.com, or if you want to send us swag, a jersey, what have you, gear to wear, email us there as well. We'll give you all the details. Still putting out some videos. We got some new stuff again. I got to actually re-record one of the segments. Maybe I'll do that coming up here as we tape something here shortly. Or we go to a tape segment here shortly. Lots of great stuff has been coming into the Hoopsville studios, and we certainly appreciate it. And we got a really great video. One of the coaches getting us some items to help with the supply as well. So email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. We'll give you all the information or answer your questions. You can also follow us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville, where also you can find us on Threads and Instagram that way. We're also on Facebook and Blue Sky, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Switching to men's basketball, you go to the NACC, which I think is a little bit underrated in just how good and competitive that conference really is. You'll see the Aurora Spartans came out on top. They've got a coach who certainly knows a thing or two about winning a national championship. Steve Christensen did it as a head coach in the JUCO level, but he's back in Division III, and he's got a tall task ahead of him after winning the conference title. They've got a tough weekend if they want to get through it, as most do on the men's side. He joined us yesterday as well for a fascinating conversation I thoroughly enjoyed. Now joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, it's the head coach of Aurora. It's Steve Christensen. Coach, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
Absolutely. 23-5 this season. On just that alone, it is a tremendous season. It is double the wins from last year. It's double the wins you've had in a long time. Haven't seen 20 wins since 2017-18 campaign when they had 3 out of 4 and 5 out of 7. This is significant just on the face of it. Beyond what we're going to talk about, this is a really good year for the Spartans.
Thanks. Yeah, it feels like a good year. Been building. I feel like even though the wins-loss hasn't reflected it, I feel like there's been progress made. But needless to say, anything you pour your heart into it, when those results aren't the work you feel like you're doing, that's tough. Those have been some tough off seasons here the past couple of years. And I think all the credit goes to the guys. We got really, really blessed with guys that not only play the right way, but they like care about each other. That chemistry piece is it's almost like unmatched.
Well, and you guys, listen, you may have lost 3 of your opening 5, but I look at some of these opponents. You lost to Gustavus Adolphus by 5. They're pretty good. North Central, you beat by 10. You got into conference play, lost to Benedictine by 9, but then you only lost to Whitewater by 9. Really, in that opening 5, those are some solid results, even if some of them came with L's.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you, diving into that. What nobody knows really outside of our program is that we were playing all those games either without our starting 1 and 2, or they had just come back. I think the first time we started all those guys was at Benedictine, and we didn't play well at Benedictine. That's our rival. Those are hard games to win when you've got everybody healthy. Can't even remember. Cullen Rawls might not even have played. Maybe he played that game, but he didn't shoot. And then I think maybe the first time we started him, he's our starting 1, was up at Whitewater, and that might have, I think that was the first time maybe I felt like we were all kind of like back. We just didn't really have any chemistry at that point. He was out with a broken hand, and McHugh Dobie was out with a concussion. So, those losses, they are to good people, and that helped other guys play and get off to maybe better starts than they would have because they did get opportunities. But, yeah, total transparency, we would love to see what we looked like full strength against those opponents.
Well, you got back to full strength and you started playing well. You rattled off 17 straight, including wins over Albion and 20-win Monmouth, and got back into conference play and continued to roll along before St. Norbert tripped you up on Valentine's Day. Not very loving of them. Lost by 8.
No, I've got a bad track record on Valentine's Day anyways.
Well, that's interesting. I was going to ask you, what was it about those 2 games against them and MSOE, who, by the way, I've seen MSOE this season. I thought they were a darn good team. They just couldn't seem to put it together at the right time. But what was it about that 3-game stretch?
Yeah, those guys, like any league, your league just knows you. They know your warts. They know how to attack you. St. Norbert was terrific on Valentine's Day. That was a fun game to play in, even if the result wasn't there. A lot of people in the building, and credit them. They came out of the chute and punched us right in the mouth. I think they finished 10-19 from 3 that day. So that's a great program. They've got a great coach, Gary Gresh. We, the better team won that game. No doubt about it. All good things come to an end. I do think that streak probably took a little out of us psychologically. Probably saw the hangover of that at MSOE that day. Again, another class outfit, well-coached team. And that was a senior-laden deal. I've been going against those guys since I took this job. Kevin's done a great job in kind of, building that team up for the, the crescendo of this season. And they were tough out. Their best player, Mason DePirac, hurt himself the first time we beat them. And then, that was one of those games we couldn't miss. We could have thrown it in with our eyes closed, and so that score kind of got away from them. But that was a dogfight. And strangely enough, you're going through that adversity and nobody likes it. And we had a long talk in the locker room after that game and kind of regrouped. Felt like we were a car maybe that had just run out of gas and we needed to recharge our tanks going into the conference tournament. And that adversity helped us. We had a lot of fight in us in those games. Didn't play real well against St. Norbert and Marion, and our defense got us over the finish line. And I'm proud of our guys for that because we've been a pretty potent offensive team throughout the year. And to be able to count on your D when it mattered most was a great development.
Interestingly enough, when you look at this team, it's got 2 seniors on it, but they're not necessarily the story. Isaiah Thompson and Jordan Schroeder certainly contribute, but it's all the underclassmen. So this feels like a season that it's either ahead of what you were planning or it's perfectly timed to get ready for the future. And so these guys are all getting a lot of experience that's going to be very beneficial as you move forward.
Yeah, definitely. I could lie to you and tell you it's exactly how we had it planned. We knew every bit of the twist and turn of the path that we would embark on. But like I said, that's kind of let off with that. I think, that's a credit to our guys. We got really lucky in that our guys just really bonded. That was kind of easy to see right away. A bunch of unassuming guys that, in my opinion, like played the game the right way, in an unselfish way, and the ball moved. And I think our stats reflect that. We're a pretty well balanced outfit, and the two guys you brought up there before, and I would add two more guys, Isaac and Alex Ross. They're going to graduate early here and go into eye doctor school. I'm sure there's a more formal name than that, but those are like great human beings. I mean, they bring it every day in practice. Jordan, not so much here this semester as he's student teaching, but they're just like, they're just team guys, and you know what you're going to get on them day in and day out. I couldn't be prouder of them, and we wouldn't be here without them. Even if their stats wouldn't necessarily indicate that. They're great people.
True YD3, for sure. It's about other things than just the game. You've got 5 guys, though, in double figures. Juan Madrigal, Cullen Rawls, Devin Richardson, apologies, McHugh Doby, I hope I said his name right, and Jeffrey Hilmer. 16.3, 14.8, 14.3, 13.2, 12.0. By this juncture in the season, that many guys, double figures in that number, tells us there's a lot of options for you.
Yeah, I think that makes you harder to defend. We've rode those horses pretty hard here this race, but yeah, credit to them for, again, in my opinion, playing the game the right way. I'd had a lot of success in junior college with well-balanced teams. That's a different animal there, recruiting guys that, are trying to transfer up to higher, 4-year levels, sharing that ball, hunting for the best shot, getting multiple side touches, inside out. To me, that's a fun brand of basketball to play. I think it's fun to watch. I know it's fun to coach.
Yeah, of course it is. By the way, we should point out Richardson's a double-double. He's got 11.6 rebounds a game. He shoots 65% from the floor. He also contributes on blocks. I'm sure you'd like him to work on his free throw shooting a bit. But that's a heck of an inside presence, while you then have everybody on the outside who shoot pretty well on top of that as a team, 35%. That kind of feels like that old school great option of an inside-outside game.
Yeah, I'm getting older here. You can see these grays. I'm a big believer in low post basketball. I know the game has transitioned away from that and put heavier emphasis on the 3-point ball, but I don't know. To me, there's something about being able to throw it down low. Going back to my days with Akeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing, watching those guys, grow up. I don't know. I just think that there's something to be said, even if it's different than what the metrics tell you. When you can stop a run because you can throw the ball inside, when you can punish a team by, running your action, and that results in a low post bucket, maybe an and one, an offensive rebound. Winning the battle of the paint is a big part of our team success. That's something that's a game key every game. It'll be a game key on Friday. It'll be, if we're lucky enough to play Saturday, it'll be there. We want to win the paint. We want to throw it into the post. We want to drive it to the paint. We want to get offensive rebounds. And Devin's been a huge part of that for sure.
You fly out to Wisconsin. Sorry, I clipped my mic there for a sec. Get ready for a Claremont Mud Scripps team that's going to be flying out to Wisconsin from the West Coast. Pretty good squad in the top 10, or has been in the top 10 much this season. Slipped out a little bit here. Up at La Crosse, which isn't too far away from you guys. It's not too bad a trip. How are you preparing for this CMS squad?
Yeah, a lot of respect for them. Obviously, a deep dive. It was a name that I had heard, but didn't know a whole lot about them. Then I got really interested about them. And just the layout of their campuses, the Claremont colleges and all that. And then, looks obviously beautiful out there. And he's Ken Scalmanini's had a great run. They're perennially, in the tournament, winning games. So a lot of respect for that team. That'll be a dogfight for sure. I don't know, maybe they'll get a little turbulence or something coming in over the Rockies.
Yeah, a little turbulence, maybe a little jet lag, maybe having to play that game in their heads at 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah, no, but nothing. I'm kidding aside there. Hope
of
the
course,
travel's great, but yeah, no, a lot of respect for them. Looking forward to meeting him and being part of a good game. Excited to be there for sure.
Tougher question would be: is there anybody you guys face this season when you look at the video that you can kind of equate to or say, hey, you remember when X ran this? Well, that's what CMS is doing. Or do you remember when they do this defensively? That's what CMS is doing.
Yeah, not exactly. I mean, obviously we've poured into their stats and their personnel and stuff like that. They're a disciplined team. Those guards, Householder and Jones are really good, and Connolly inside is a he's a force. Kennedy's a good player. They're good. We know the caliber of competition out there. I think Redlands and Occidental played MSOE out in Vegas. So that's a light foe, right? And they beat them. I think both teams beat them. So we have a lot of respect for this team. I think we need to control the controllables, right? Worry about the things that, we need to focus on. And, obviously, hopefully not, we'll have to encourage them to play hard. I mean, if we're not playing hard in the NCAA tournament, we got problems. So I'm looking forward to a good one.
Obviously, a conference title, automatic berth. It's the first conference title since the 18-19 season. 12th NCAA tournament appearance since the late 90s. It's important to the program, but I assume it's also important to the campus.
Yeah, that's something that you take a lot of pride in. There's more and more people filing into your games, and that was a great crowd on Saturday. Being able to host the tournament championship game is that's a blessing. Those are the kind of moments that I've done this a while here. Those are the moments that stay with you, and being able to survive that one against a really well-coached Marion team. Drake Diener, that was a fun night. That was a frustrating night. We missed a ridiculous amount of shots at the rim, but Marion plays excellent defense. They had something to do with that too.
I'm curious, you guys are located, for those who don't know, on the outskirts of Chicago or the Chicagoland area, depending on whose definition it is. As a guy who grew up in downtown Chicago, you're way west. You're west in Naperville. It's a crowded area. It's a crowded area in terms of colleges. It's a crowded area in terms of basketball. How do you guys try and stand out? And is this the kind of thing that helps make you stand out a little bit?
Yeah, hopefully. I think it goes without saying, Midwest basketball is legit. When I was in junior college, we had guys flying in to recruit kids from Chicago all the time. A lot of Midwest schools recruit kids from Chicago and the suburbs. We're just trying to be the best version of Aurora we can be. And I think that, as I look back on my tenure here, that like being good at your job, you need to figure your job out first. Like before you can really excel at it, you need to figure out how to do it. And, my stop at Triton was great, a wonderful time, but this is a different level and it's a different game. And, those tough off seasons and those disappointing records, they force you to grow, and grow in ways that, you're constantly trying to peel the onion. How do we do it? How should we play? Okay. And then who do we need to recruit? Who can we get? All those questions factor into, how your program's built, and how we want to do it. And again, we got really lucky this year. My staff, Brandon Smith, Jason Banks, those guys worked hard and helping assemble this crew. For instance, take Juan Madrigal for an example. He played at Kennedy King, which is a city JUCO. We saw him play. They played our JV team one game. I would have been a couple years ago. He left, went down to Christian Brothers. That didn't work out. Brandon brought his name. I'm like, I remember that kid's name. I liked him 2 years ago. You got to find him wherever, we'd go to the moon to find good players. But that's a work in progress constantly, and now it's a work in progress to keep them.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially with the new kind of day and age of things. The keeping part sometimes can get to be the most challenging part. Hey, Coach, I appreciate the time. I appreciate the insight on Aurora, and good luck. I can't wait to see this matchup because for us in the D3 world, we love the matchups we don't normally see, and that's what we're getting at least on Friday up at La Crosse. I won't ask you about the potential of Saturday because I know you're mainly focused there on CMS. But thank you for the time. Good luck, especially in the travels, and we'll look forward to catching up. We have a tradition on this show. We always give the guests, though, the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those tuned in?
Just how much I've enjoyed getting into this Division III world. I played it, not very well, I might add, years ago, but as a coach here, this is a lot of fun. And guys like you, the D3 DataCast guys, Bob Quillman, they make it. You guys make it because there's a lot of fans out there of the game, and I don't even want to admit how many times I've hit refresh on X just to see what new content you guys are putting out there. So appreciate all your efforts and energy, and hopefully you see a good one here Friday afternoon.
Well, I appreciate your time. It's good to see you back in D3, in my opinion, and we'll look forward to catching up with you down the road.
All righty. Thanks a lot for having me.
He's Steve Christiansen joining us here on the Hoopsville Hotline. Good to hear from Coach. If you don't know, he's a North Central grad. He played at North Central for a couple of years over there on Rock Island. Good to have him, as we said, back. Not bad for an Aurora program, and that's one of those that Ryan Scott has pointed out he thinks is an interesting matchup early in this tournament. He's got his tournament preview up. Gordon Mann has his tournament previews up. I've read both of them. They're outstanding. Can't wait for you to read them, but I can't wait to see how these tournaments turn out, see if these guys are anywhere near it in terms of their predictions. Ryan was pretty good last year. I think he's put himself in a bit of a corner trying to be able to be just as good as last year. Daryl says, I came in late since I'm at work. Is Flow College going to be hijack some of the games this weekend, or is it able to watch most of the games? No. Flow College has no control over postseason games. It is an NCAA controlled thing. And once again, the championship pass is what they call it, is out and available. All games will be free via the Hudl system, which is the blue frame system, which is one that we've used in the past, especially if you tuned in for D3Hoops.com classic games. Apologies. So you'll be able to watch the games for free. They'll be, we'll have the links at D3Hoops.com. They're also on NCAA.com. They go basically through the NCAA's website, but they are for free across the board, all games, et cetera, et cetera. There is no pay-per-view of any kind allowed because these are NCAA tournament games. NCAA, the entity that technically controls these things. And so the schools produce them for free, essentially, for the NCAA, and thus they're free, everybody. Same in the fall, same in the spring. The championship pass has been very successful, and looking forward to seeing that. By the way, we should point this out. Every school that hosts gets a per diem's a bad word, but gets a stipend from Division III for hosting specific money for web streaming. So they're given, I'm going to roughly say $1,200. And the schools that are really on top of this take that $1,200 and immediately invest in doing something to improve their web streams. And I mean, I work at one of those institutions that does it. And so they've gotten PTZ cameras so that we can have other angles without necessarily having to have more manpower. You invest in manpower so you can do extra things with the broadcast. The $1,200 should be, if you're an institution and you're hosting and you're getting the $1,200 for your web stream, invest in your web stream with that money. It is well worth it across the board. And then, yes, Pat points out after the first 2 weekends, the games are on ESPN+. So the women's Final Four will be on ESPN+, along with title game. The men's Elite Eight, Final Four, and championship will be on ESPN+ as well. That is part of ESPN+'s package, or ESPN's package with the NCAA that includes Division III football, Division III volleyball, Division III basketball. Double checking. No, it does not include soccer, I don't believe. So those are the Division III sports that ESPN is then responsible for. So those games are technically behind a pay-per-view wall, but a lot of people have ESPN Plus without even realizing it. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show. Take one last look at the tourney, and most importantly, we'll talk about the women's schedule. My 2 cents on their idea of not spreading games out. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA studios.
Coach of the Year, Administrator of the Year, All-America Team, Wade Trophy. The WBCA doesn't just honor coaches, but players, administrators, and much more. The WBCA strives to honor those who have contributed to the advancement of women's basketball. Celebrate the present, honor the past, look to the future.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that, a lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, and I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
The National Association of Basketball Coaches is the nation's premier professional development and advocacy organization for basketball coaches at every level. The NABC strives to serve as the voice for coaches on national issues while advancing the core value of leadership, service, advocacy, education, and inclusion. To learn more about the NABC and to become a member, visit nabc.com and follow the NABC on social media at NABC1927. That's nabc.com or NABC1927 on social media. Welcome back to Hoopsville. I have not done a good enough job of pushing this all show, but support our work at buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. That's buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. Sign up for a Hoopsville membership. You'll get access to things like my top 25 ballots, but we'll also have the off-court podcast that we're spinning up and some other perks. So buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. It's pretty important. Support our work on a monthly basis. You can also just make a straight donation. If you're buying coffees, then you're making a straight donation. Otherwise, you're signing up for membership below that. Any help you can give us, especially this off season, would be greatly appreciated. So again, tournaments are starting up. We are rolling along. Head to d3hoops.com for everything you need. The tournament previews are up there from not only our show, but from Gordon and Pat. They are a fun read. It's interesting what angles the guys take. I can't disagree with a lot of things. I think a lot of it's fascinating. But you're going to have to make your own assessments, in my opinion, but they are worth it. They are a fun read, to say the least, and good job by those two guys on them. Made me kind of think about a few things as I finish up my own bracket. I have a policy, though, that I don't announce who I think are going to get to, especially on the men's side, get to certain parts of the tournament, because I am going to be broadcasting once again this year for ESPN Plus. I don't want anybody accusing me of having some kind of bias. By the way, Pat says Gordon and Ryan. Did I say Patton? Yeah, Gordon Mann and Ryan Scott wrote these tournament previews, if I misspoke earlier. They are terrifically done, to say the least. Again, on the men's side, I think it's a wide open tournament, and I think Ryan does a good job of explaining that. We're going to have upsets. We're going to see the madness. You know, the saying is that March Madness begins, or the madness of March begins in Division III, and that is definitely the case, and we're going to see it this weekend. I can't wait for Monday's show to see what is left after the dust settles, because it's going to be wild. I can see all kinds of upsets in this scenarios. I could see a scenario where Yeshiva gets through the first weekend. I can also see a scenario where they lose on the opening game. I could see a scenario where Grinnell gets through the weekend too. Cortland, I like getting through the first weekend potentially. Listen, I wouldn't put anything past Loris or Whitewater. They got to beat each other first. The lower right-hand quadrant where you got Mount Union, W&J, Christopher Newport, and Stevens all down there at Christopher Newport is fascinating. Randolph-Macon's got an interesting pod. Like, the entire men's bracket is just wide open with intrigue, in my opinion. And I think we're going to get some surprises. Is Hood and Redlands actually going to face off in the second round? That'd be amazing if they do. And Redlands is going to be certainly battle-tested if they get out of that. And I would say Hood's battle-tested if they get out of that. But Hood's got to play Vassar and Redlands got to play Susquehanna. Let's not overlook the opening round games. So men's basketball, better pay attention. And I love that the games are extended, as it were. We have games starting, obviously, at 1 o'clock with Yeshiva, and then it's 3 o'clock with the Redlands game, then 3:15, 3:30, 3:45, 4. There's 2 games at 4, then 4:15, 4:30, 4:45, 5:10, 5:15, 5:20, 5:30, 5:35, 5:40, 5:45, 5:50, 6, 6:05, 6:15, 6:30, 6:45, 7, 7:15, 7:30, 7:40, 7:50, 8, 8:10, 8:20, 8:35. It's outstanding. It's absolutely outstanding. They're all going to be spread out. So supposedly you can watch different games ending at different times. That said, on the women's side, 2 games at 4:45, 2 games at 5, 2 games at 5:15, 2 games at 5:30, 2 games at 5:45, 2 games at 6, 2 games at 6:15, 2 games at 6:30, 2 games at 7:15, 2 games at 7:30, 2 games at 7:45, 2 games at 8, 2 games at 8:15, 2 games at 8:30, 2 games at 8:45, 2 games at 9, all these times Eastern. So the women took a little bit of a page on the men's side, and I appreciate that. However, got all of our games slammed into a essentially 4-hour window. And Kristen Hughes made her arguments for why they did this and why they continue to do this, that it's for the student athletes, it's for the fans who attend. I push back a little bit on it because I think it's an underhanded comment to say we're thinking about the student-athlete experience as if the men aren't with their schedule. And that's how it comes across. You know, the men's starting at 1, they have to with Yeshiva, and then they're starting at 3, and they're going to finish Eastern time at 8:35. And you're saying, well, we're thinking about the student-athlete experience and what they like about it. And so I feel like that's a slight shot at the men, and it may not be intended as such, but it feels as such. Secondly, I don't know if you're thinking about the student-athlete experience because I raised this question to her, and I don't think she understood the question. I said, well, listen, we have a lot of teams that play at 1 and 3 or 2 and 4 on Saturdays. I don't think the early games are that big a deal. She goes, well, of course, it's a Saturday. There's nothing about Friday that is different than a Saturday conference game in terms of timing. These students are not going to class on Friday. Even the hosts, I'd be surprised. Maybe there's a handful who are going to classes that day. I don't know for sure, but I would imagine most are getting ready for a normal day. And if they did have a game at 2 o'clock or they did have a game at 3, and no one's asking for games much earlier than 3 o'clock anyway, these student athletes are used to those game times on a normal day in a normal conference or in conference championships. Last weekend, we had games at 12, 1, 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon on a Sunday. So the game time and being prepared, I think's a false narrative, a false equivalency. These are important games. They ought to have time to prepare for them. Well, so was last weekend, and so was every game during the regular season, especially in conference play, and yet we play earlier games, and Friday doesn't make a hill of a beans of a difference on a Saturday in the eyes of the fact that it's an NCAA tournament game. 3 of the 4 teams aren't even going to class that day in each pod. And I'm assuming the other students probably aren't, and there's a lot more schools that don't even have classes on Fridays, or at least not classes they have to be at on Fridays. So I feel like the argument is a little bit old school. It's a little, and I hear this argument in some other sports where coaches associations claim that this is for the betterment of the student athlete or the betterment of the game or whatever the case may be. And in reality, it's just code for old school coaches don't want to change. Old school coaches want to do it their way. They don't care what anybody else is doing. They don't like it. So this is how they're going to do it. And they couch it by saying it's for the betterment of the student athlete. And I'm not saying that's Kristen. Kristen's just speaking for the committee. There's other people who make these decisions. The committee makes the decision as a whole. If Kristen is for that, she's either going to come out and say, I'm for it, but the committee said otherwise, or she's going to come out and make the committee's argument, right? So I don't know specifically, though it feels like Kristen is on this argument. I'm thinking you're missing an opportunity to promote the game better by spreading the games out a little bit more. And we're only talking slightly more. We're talking an hour and a half, maybe more difference here. And Kristen felt like she may have gotten stuck on the 24-hour window into Saturday. That wasn't anything I have. I agree with the 24-hour window. I get it. Give that last team at least a 24-hour window. But that also means games are later. Now, the other argument was, well, we want to make sure fans of these teams can get to the games. I'll be bluntly honest. Do we know any parents who are going to work on Friday who would then try and get to a game that evening where the difference between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. is anything? I think two things. First off, in this day and age where you can work from home rather easily, anybody who still has to work is probably working remotely to get to whatever time the game is. Secondly, if they are a parent of any of these players, they've already planned to probably not be at work on these days. They've already probably warned their jobs. Listen, my daughter is in a game on Friday. I'm not going to be available because we're either traveling to it or we're going to be at home watching it. So I don't think that stands anything. And if you're talking about the host, if they still want to get to work, okay. But again, they're going to make arrangements to get to whatever game time you arrange. Now, there's one window she didn't talk about that I can buy into. And that's making sure the hosts or any of the students from those institutions get a chance to get to these games. Again, if you're traveling, though, those students aren't going to class anyway because they're traveling on a Friday. If you're talking about the host getting a chance to go to the game and still not miss class on Friday, there might be a small window of an argument there. But overall, the argument sounds like an old school argument that people are going to work on a Friday and have to get to a game later that day, that students are in class, apparently all of them, on Friday, and then got to get to a game later. And I don't think that holds up. I don't. All due respect. It is an old world way of looking at it, and I think it's also a slight at men's basketball who are doing it. These student athletes are going to be ready for whatever game time you give them. We're not asking for 11 a.m. We're not asking for noon. We're not asking for 1. Men are starting, for the most part, at 3 p.m. Yeshiva's an exception due to their religious needs, which is certainly fair, but otherwise we're starting at 3 p.m. and 3 p.m. on a Saturday is a normal conference game, and 3 p.m. for championship games on a Sunday was late. So why is this different? I'm hoping women's basketball reassesses this. I appreciate that they're at least somewhat spread out, but I'd like to see them a little bit more so we can enjoy more of these games as they happen. Am I being selfish about this? Absolutely. But I think I'm being selfish for everybody in Division III who wants to watch these games. Now, Ryan's lucking out. He's going to be able to go to that 1 o'clock game for Yeshiva at Montclair. He's going to go to that game. Then he's going to run over to Scranton because they've got a wildly late game, to be honest with you, at Scranton. The games on the women's side at Scranton are surprisingly late. For an East Coast, I'm a little startled that even Johns Hopkins is playing at 7:30. But the Scranton women's game's at 8:30. Their first game's at 5, I think. So that's another thing, is some of these games are late. Just kind of surprises me a wee bit. Sorry, 6 p.m. is Randolph-Macon Otterbein. Now I know some people like the 6 and 8. I get it. Listen, maybe we're not going to find an opportunity here, but Ryan's going to get to that one, and then on Saturday he's hoping to get down to Frederick, Maryland, and see Hood versus Redlands if that game pans out. We'll see. And maybe I'm off on my rocker here. Maybe I'm being the old man, but that's just I don't know. By the way, Pat says on the YouTube thing, the pace of the potential Hood Redlands game would be fire. It would be. I wish I could get to some games this weekend. Friday, I've got time, but I thought about going to Frederick. Maybe it'll be a last minute thing, but I got to pack for a trip away, and I may spend time with the family because I'm going to be gone for a week. I got to leave Saturday evening, so I can't get to any games on Saturday after a gig earlier in the day. Then I'm gone for a week. We'll be doing Hoopsville on the road Monday and Thursdays at 7 p.m. Then I'm back Friday, have a gig Friday. Then I have another gig Saturday midday. Maybe I can get lucky enough and get to something. No, I have plans that evening, it turns out. Sorry. My calendar got booked. And then I'm traveling the next weekend for Elite Eight Final Four. Then I'm back home for Major League Baseball starting. And then after that, I'm traveling for the championship game in men's basketball. So I'm probably going to spend Friday here at the house and just be with the family. Also, we've got a little bit of a bug going around the house, and probably need my services as well there. So that's going to wrap up the show. We got some more jerseys and stuff that have arrived at the studio that we're gonna post. We got some videos we haven't gotten out yet. If you've got anything you'd like to send us, whether it's swag, gear you'd want to see me wear, a jersey to hang on the Hoopsville Studios, well, email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com. If you got questions for us, you can do the same. Double checking. I don't have a question in my inbox, in fact. Nope, do not. Alex says, completely agree with your argument about spreading out the women's games a bit more. Appreciate it, Alex. I don't know if I'll be listened to. But I not to harp on it, I just feel the argument, all due respect to Kristen and the committee, the argument is old school, not modern day argument. I don't, and if it's working so well for the men, why not adopt it? It's not hurting the student athlete experience on the men's side. And by the way, do we have data from the student athletes saying what they'd like? Has there been a survey saying what we know the student athletes like and experience, or is this just the coaches speaking for the student athletes? I forgot to mention that. I'd be curious if there's actual data on this, what the students would want. I'll also be curious if the men have taken data and what the student athletes say there. Be very curious. Anyway, follow us on Twitter at D3Hoopsville, hashtag Hoopsville, as well as Instagram and Threads. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. Also Blue Sky. You can email us, hoopsville@d3sports.com, and support us. Buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. That's buymeacoffee.com/Hoopsville. Again, next week we'll be on the air Monday and Thursday while on the road. 7 p.m. is our aiming point. Granted, I might realize early in the week that time may need to shift, but that's our hope. We'll be doing the show live. Knock on wood, with guests. This is going to be a little bit different than being in the Hoopsville studios, but hopefully we'll be able to do it from the road live, 7 p.m. Eastern. That is our goal, and we'll look forward to chatting with all of you while we're there on that road. Looking forward to watching some games with all of you. Don't forget the hashtag D3Hoops, and don't forget, at D3Hoops, links to every single game is on there. Go to d3hoops.com, scroll to the top of the page to scores, go down to NCAA tournament. You will see the list on both men and women, every single game, every single video link. And if there's audio links, there's audio links. If there's live stat links, there are live stat links. We'll get those in. Some of the live stat links haven't gotten here because the video links have been our priority. Every video link is there so you can watch the games And remember, they're free in the opening 2 weekends on the Championship Pass Hudl system via NCAA.com. We have a litany of guests to thank today. What a show. Thanks to Dean Burrows at Mississippi University of Women, better known as the W. Thanks to Frank Marcinek at Susquehanna, LaTanya Collins at St. Mary's, Maryland, Diana Noles at Otterbein, Michael Sumi at Heidelberg, Olivia Hunt at Austin, and Steve Christensen at Aurora. Thank you also to all of the sports information directors who assisted us. I'm not going to be able to name all the names, but I'll do my best. Dave, John, let's see here, Jeff, Niram. Oh, I'm not getting all of them because some of them moved around on me. Brian. Oh, I know I'm missing a couple. I apologize because I had to use a couple different email addresses, which always makes it more interesting to say the least. Jeff, again, another Jeff. Thank you to everybody for helping put this show together today. It was a supersized edition. We're actually signing off a little bit earlier than planned. It's not a bad thing. We also had one guest who wasn't able to make it, so we're cutting it off a little bit earlier, but I've got to help a family, as I mentioned, who got a little bug going around, so we got to see if maybe we can help everybody out. But we also got a lot of work to do, so we got to sign off. But thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. This is, Pat says, literally doing live stat links right now over lunch. Yep, I can imagine it. This has been a great show. We love doing this supersized edition. Love hearing from all these different programs. Monday's show, find out who survived. Talk to those who survived. And then next Thursday, talking to those who are still in the tournament as well, as we look towards an interesting weekend in a second. But the first weekend is going to be outstanding, so that's where we're focused. Log on to d3hoops.com. Enjoy these games. Sit back, maybe with a big screen and bounce between games, maybe with your computer, maybe with a big screen and a computer, maybe a big screen and a couple of computers. Whatever the case may be, lots of great content on its way. These teams are good. These players are good. These coaching staffs are good across the board. It's going to be a wide open tournament, I think, in men's and women's basketball. Real question, can NYU win a third national championship undefeated? That'd be the first time ever, especially on the women's basketball side. So let's see if this can happen. And Trinity men, can they be the first repeat national champ since 2009? It's the last time we had a repeat champ in men's basketball. It was 2009. Wash you, Bears. I don't know if it can be done, but looking forward to seeing how it all plays out. Looking forward to having you back here on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, as we break down the opening chaos as we go from 128 teams to 64 total, right? No, to 32 total. What am I talking about? We go down to 32 total, 128 teams broke down to 32 by the time we get to Monday. It's going to be a lot of tears. There's going to be a lot of really good basketball in the meantime. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCA studios, and thanks to all of our friends who have been partners with us at BuyMeACoffee.com. Again, BuyMeACoffee.com/Hoopsville. Donate, sign up for a membership. Please do your best to help us. And if you got gear, swag, jerseys to send us for the Hoopsville studios, send us an email at hoopsville@d3sports.com or my personal address. We'll get you the information so you can send it in, and we'll continue to do a video series that apparently a lot of people are enjoying. We've got a few more to send out as well. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you back here on Monday. Enjoy the opening weekend of the Division III men's and women's basketball tournaments. It's going to be awesome.